I have a zombie assistance system. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, The Attraction of Zombie Virus. Qiushui looked at the zombies' involuntary bodies and intoxicated expressions and asked curiously, shouldn't that black object be very smelly? Why do they look so intoxicated? He smiled and said, you are just wearing a mask, otherwise you might have eaten the zombie virus directly into your stomach. Qiushui looked unconvinced, as if she didn't think she would do such a thing. He pointed at Wang Qiushui. If you don't believe me, you can ask her, or when you turn into a zombie later, take off the mask and try it and you'll know. Wang Qiushui nodded repeatedly. It was a very strange feeling, as if the most delicious thing in the world was in front of you. Even if you know in your heart that you can't eat that thing, and you always think it stinks, you can't control your desire to eat it. Qiushui then asked, did you eat it? How did it feel? Wang Qiushui waved her hand. Of course I didn't eat it. That thing is a zombie virus. If I really ate it, I might have turned into a zombie a long time ago, and how could I still be standing here? Qiushui sighed. I didn't expect your willpower to be so strong that you could resist such temptation. Wang Qiushui looked smug when he heard this and was about to brag a few words, but heard him say, if I hadn't controlled her body in time, she would have eaten it a long time ago. Wang Qiushui twisted his waist. Do you really have to ruin my show? He grimaced in pain and pointed down quickly, saying, let's continue watching the show. Qiushui smiled at the two of them and then looked down. If the main force that entered the juicer before was ordinary zombies, now they have directly become level 2 zombies. It's not that the zombie virus is not attractive enough, but those ordinary zombies and level 1 zombies are now trembling under the control of the level 2 zombies. They dare not move at all, let alone enter the juicer to grab the zombie virus. It is not known whether it was influenced or ordered by the level 3 zombies before. Those level 2 zombies did not emit their own aura, so those low level zombies can act normally. Of course, there are also some relatively strong level 1 zombies and those level 1 zombies who are not afraid of death, and they are still rushing forward. After all, the concentration of zombie virus in the juicer is so high that, if they can eat it, it is likely that they will be upgraded directly, so they just fight. However, except for some extremely powerful level 1 zombies who jumped in smoothly, the rest were torn into pieces by the level 2 zombies next to them, and the black liquid and body fragments were scattered all over the ground. Then, those level 2 zombies rushed to jump in, fearing that they would fall behind other zombies. Because of the large number, it didn't take long for the juicer to be filled up by half, and the zombies inside started fighting again. As for whether there were any lucky ones who could eat the zombie virus at the bottom, it was unknown. In addition, there were still some extremely vigilant level 2 zombies who resisted the temptation with difficulty and did not jump in. However, there were not many of these zombies. There were still only a few who could really withstand the temptation. He looked at it and estimated that no other zombies would go in for the time being, so he controlled the juicer to close the lid again. However, this time there were quite a few level 2 zombies inside. So, when the lid was closed, there was a knocking sound, and even the juicer buried in the ground was seen shaking slightly. Wang Qiushui worriedly said, can this juicer hold up? Will it be broken by the knocking? He shook his head slightly. It should be fine. Besides, they can't knock for long. After that, he started the juicer, cutting and juicing at the same time. Sure enough, after a while, there was no movement inside, only bursts of rumbling. And this time, the zombies left outside no longer wandered around, nor were they attracted by the sound, and pounced on it. Instead, they looked at the ordinary lid with fear in their eyes. Some level 2 zombies who did not go in ran away without looking back, trying desperately to get away from here. Qiushui pointed at one of the running level 2 zombies. These zombies are too alert. It should be difficult to deal with them next. Once they are upgraded to level 3, they will probably be as difficult opponents as that female zombie. He chuckled. Don't worry, they won't survive today. No matter how fast they run, they can't escape my 5 fingers mountain. Qiushui Zealand asked curiously, have you thought of a way? He shook his head. Wang Qiushui said, he is like this, always speaking only half of what he wants to say. Anyway, if he doesn't say anything, we just need to watch the show from the side. While they were chatting, the level 2 zombies ran farther and farther, and some of them were almost invisible. As a result, some level 1 zombies also began to run away. At this time, the lid of the juicer was opened again, and the zombies inside disappeared again. Only the zombie virus at the bottom of the juicer could be seen to have grown a lot larger. Sure enough, the virus concentration of the level 2 zombies was higher. As the lid was opened, the zombies that had already run far away stopped one after another, and then turned around, and walked back, as if they were controlled. Even the level 2 zombies that had already walked far away couldn't control themselves and walked back, and their speed was even faster than before. Qiushui Zealand asked curiously, are these zombie viruses so attractive? Also, weren't they able to resist the temptation just now? Why can't they do that this time? Wang Qiushui cleared his throat. You don't understand this, right? As the concentration of the zombie virus increases, the attraction to zombies is also increasing. And just now we squeezed so many level 2 zombies, the concentration of zombies must be very high, so they can't withstand the temptation. Qiushui Zealand worriedly said, doesn't that mean that now it is possible to lure level 3 or even higher zombies? Wang Qiushui was stunned by this question, blinked his big eyes, and then looked at him. He just opened his eyes. It's okay, at least I didn't see any zombies above level 3 appearing in the scanner range. Wang Qiushui and the others were relieved immediately. Level 3 zombies were fine, but if there were zombies above level 3, it would be hard to say whether they could escape unscathed. This time, those level 2 zombies had no time to care about other zombies, and they rushed to jump down. Following closely behind were the level 1 zombies, and finally the ordinary zombies. When the juicer was filled with zombies, he controlled the juicer again, closed the lid, and started a new round of juicing. It must be said that this method of killing zombies is really convenient. You don't have to do anything, just watch. Chapter 202. If our roles were switched. At this time, Qiushui Zealand looked at the juicer and asked worriedly, the zombie virus just now was so attractive. Next time, won't it be very likely to attract level 3 zombies? And as more zombies are squeezed, the concentration of the virus will become higher and higher. There were still many zombies around the juicer. They did not leave, but kept circling around the juicer. It was estimated that they would have to squeeze it many times before they could be dealt with. Wang Qiushui clapped his hands. It's okay. Anyway, we have almost rested. Leave the rest to us. He shook his head. No, you will know in a while. The two looked at each other and looked at the juicer silently. After the juicer was finished, it slowly opened the lid again. This time the attraction was indeed stronger than before. Before the lid was completely opened, zombies had already drilled in through the cracks. The zombies behind saw it and followed in. By the time the lid was completely opened, half of the juicer was already full of zombies. At this time, he silently put on the mask and said to the two people, you should also put on the mask. The two people didn't understand why, but they did it anyway. Then, a black light flashed in his hand, and when he looked again, a large piece of black virus appeared in his hand. A trace of surprise flashed in the eyes of the two people, and Wang Qiushui asked directly, where did this come from? Are you doing magic? He smiled. This is the zombie virus in the juicer. Even if it is far away, I can take it out, as long as I think about it in my mind. As he spoke, he took out a glass box and put the zombie virus in it. Now this zombie virus is a hot commodity. If it is exposed to the air for a longer time, it is really possible to attract level 3 zombies. And he doesn't want to face the group of level 3 zombies head on for the time being, so he should deal with those low level zombies first. After hearing what he said, Qiushui Zealand quickly looked at the juicer. Sure enough, after the zombie virus disappeared, the zombies outside the juice looked confused. The zombies inside began to struggle hard and climb out, because they ran into the juicer for the zombie virus, and now that it was gone, there was no need to stay inside. Qiushui Zealand said quickly, without the zombie virus, the zombies will leave. Otherwise, I will throw another piece of zombie virus in. Wang Qiushui nodded in agreement. He waved his hand and smiled. Who said there is no zombie virus? The juicer was directly covered with a lid. except for a small number of zombies that had escaped earlier. The rest were locked inside. Then, the juicer started again. Wang Qiushui breathed a sigh of relief. It seems we don't have to do anything. If it always goes on like this, doesn't that mean we just need to watch the show here? He nodded. In theory, that's right. After squeezing all the gathered zombies into juice, I will use the title to lure out those level 3 zombies, and then it will be their death. Qiushui frowned slightly. In addition to the dead crab man, there are 6 level 3 zombies, and we only have 2 level 3 zombies. It's hard to deal with so many at the same time. Wang Qiushui thought for a while. If it doesn't work, we'll do it as before. Run a distance first, and then defeat them one by one. If the two of us join forces, zombies other than the speed type won't last long in our hands. Qiushui nodded. When she heard it, that's a way. He was speechless. You two look down on me too much. After all, I'm also level 3. Wang Qiushui patted his shoulder and said carelessly, you are level 3, except for being a little more durable. You don't have any actual combat ability. So, you'd better hide aside and watch the show. Qiushui looked at Wang Qiushui strangely, and then her face turned red. Wang Qiushui didn't understand. Did I say something wrong? He shook his head. No, it's just that you didn't express it very clearly. You said the time I support you to transform, right? Wang Qiushui nodded. Yes. Qiushui's face turned even redder. When she heard it, it turned out that she misunderstood. He continued, I have thought of a way for the time being, but I still need to think about the specific implementation process. If it can be realized, I should be able to deal with one. Wang Qiushui looked at him and continued, don't be stubborn, you know your situation. Qiushui also nodded. He smiled. Don't worry, I won't risk my life. I won't consider it, unless I'm extremely sure. At this time, the juicer was turned on again, and the previous zombies had become part of the bottom zombie virus. Then, the ordinary zombies jumped in again. So, the previous scenes began to play out again. When it was almost noon, there were only a few zombies left next to the juicer, and a few people walked down. Wang Qiushui thought it was interesting at first, but then he started to feel bored after staying there for a long time. When he saw the remaining zombies, he rushed up directly, as if he saw something interesting. The zombies were stunned for a moment. Usually, they chased people and bit them, but why was it the other way around this time? The human was not afraid of them, but rushed directly over? Soon, the zombies understood why, but it was too late. Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth and let out a long breath. After moving around for a while, I feel much better. He walked past Wang Qiushui and said with a smile, I remembered a line from a game character. If our roles were reversed, I would let you know what cruelty is. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly. Was I cruel just now? He shook his head. No, not cruel, but brutal. If they were allowed to do it again, they would definitely run as far as they could. Qiushui, who was standing by, laughed out loud. Then, he walked to the juicer. After so many times, both the inner wall and the outer cover had been dented by the zombies. Fortunately, the quality of this juicer is good, otherwise it would have been broken long ago. He put his hand on the juicer and said, repair the juicer. If it is not repaired, it will be difficult to continue. System, ding, because the juicer is too large and seriously damaged, 100 experience points will be deducted, and the repair has been completed. He took a look and found that the juicer had become the same as a new one. However, these 100 experience points still made him feel a little painful, but when he thought about his income this morning, he suddenly felt that such a small effort was completely worth it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Qiushui Soul-Seeking Questions. After repairing the juicer, he did not take it out, because he had to continue in the afternoon anyway. Then, the three of them started to walk back. After finishing their meal, the three of them prepared to set off again. At this time, Qiushui rushed forward and hugged her sister's thigh. Qiushui didn't understand, so she touched her sister's head. What's wrong? Qiusilian lowered her head and didn't say anything, just hugged her tightly and didn't let go. He interrupted, maybe she is too bored to stay here alone. Qiusilian raised her head and looked at him in surprise, as if wondering how he knew what she was thinking. Wang Qiushui stepped forward and pinched Qiusilian's little face. Then take Zillion with you. Anyway, there is no danger. Qiusilian nodded repeatedly after hearing this and looked at Qiusilian again, her eyes full of expectation. Qiusilian hesitated for a moment and then said, okay then. Then, they set off again. When they arrived at the morning building, the three of them went upstairs directly. Qiusilian began to transform and then took the zombie virus to the place where the zombies were. In the morning, she attracted only a small number of zombies, not all of them. It wasn't that the zombie virus wasn't powerful enough, but there were too many zombies, so crowded that they couldn't walk. So in the end, only the zombies that could move outside were attracted by Qiusilian. The juicer opened the lid directly, as if waiting for the zombies to jump in. The two of them stood directly by the windowsill, and Qiusilian, who was not tall enough, rested on a chair and looked down together. Not long after, the zombies rushed over in a mighty force, following a piece of zombie virus floating in the air, just like in the morning. Qiusilian looked left and right, but couldn't find Qiusilian, so she asked, where is your sister? Why can't I see your sister? Wang Qiushui pointed at the black zombie virus and said, your sister is there, but she is invisible now, so we can't see her. She is holding the black object in her hand, attracting the zombies here. Qiusilian widened her eyes. What if your sister is surrounded by zombies? Wouldn't it be very dangerous? Wang Qiushui smiled. Don't worry, it won't. And your sister is much more powerful than these zombies. There is no danger at all. Qiusilian nodded, then looked at him again. It is still dangerous after all. Why don't you do such a dangerous thing? Wang Qiushui laughed out loud when he heard this. He had a dark face. Don't forget, it was me who spoke up for you just now, and your sister brought you out. Otherwise, you would still be locked up in the building now. Qiusilian waved her hands. That's different. Let's put it in context. We are talking about another matter now. As for you helping me just now, I will return it to you later. He opened his mouth, but didn't know how to refute. Wang Qiushui laughed even louder. It was rare to see him being humiliated. At this time, Qiusilian came over from behind and asked, what are you talking about? You seem so happy. Qiusilian's eyes lit up when she saw her sister coming back, and she jumped off the stool directly. Sister, you are back. Qiusilian nodded. Zillion, am I good? Qiusilian nodded repeatedly. Sister is so amazing. She can attract so many zombies here. Qiusilian smiled. It's not as amazing as you say. It's actually very simple. He had been paying attention to the juicer. Seeing that it was almost full, he silently controlled the juicer to cover the lid and started a new round of juicing. Qiusilian looked at Wang Qiushui, who was laughing non-stop, and asked, did anything funny happen when I was away? Wang Qiushui looked at Qiusilian. Should I say it? Qiusilian put her little finger on her lips and made a silence gesture. Qiusilian looked at Qiusilian. Did you make trouble just now? If so, I won't bring you out next time. Qiusilian shook her head quickly. Wang Qiushui told the whole story and then said, children are free to speak without restraint, and she is just worried about you. Qiusilian sighed and then looked at him. I'm sorry, she is too young and doesn't understand many things. I apologize if I have offended you. Qiusilian pouted when she heard this, but didn't dare to say anything. He smiled. It's okay, Qiushui is right. She said those things because she was worried about you. Besides, from her point of view, Qiushui and I are watching the show here, and it is wrong for you to take risks alone. However, what I'm more curious about is why she always targets me and ignores Wang Qiushui. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly and hit him lightly. You are trying to sow discord and destroy the relationship between us. Qiusilian on the side nodded repeatedly. Yes, my relationship with Sister Qiushui is so good, and you, a bad guy, actually want to sow discord between us. Wang Qiushui followed and nodded. That's right. He covered his chest. My heart hurts so much. I should have let your sister bring you out earlier, and you two actually teamed up to bully me. Now, even Qiushui, who had been keeping a serious expression, laughed out loud. Then, Wang Qiushui and Qiushui also laughed. He smiled, then turned around and controlled to open the lid of the juicer so that the zombies could jump in by themselves. Qiushui also jumped back on the stool and looked at the zombies below. Qiushui came over at this time. Isn't this scene too cruel? Shouldn't children watch it? After all, the zombies were once human beings, and then they were squeezed into juice one by one. Such a scene is still too early for children. Wang Qiushui responded casually, what's the big deal? Isn't it just squeezing some juice? Besides, you can't always protect her. Sooner or later, she will have to face these things, and she may even have to kill zombies in the future. Qiushui nodded quickly after hearing this. Qiushui thought for a moment. Okay. At this time, he echoed, yes, let her see. It will be fun to have a nightmare at night and see if she dares to bully me in the future. Qiushui snorted coldly, I don't have nightmares. If they dare to appear in my dreams, I will beat them up severely. Wang Qiushui glanced at him and suddenly laughed. Speaking of nightmares, I remembered a funny thing. Qiushui grabbed the corner of Wang Qiushui's clothes. Tell me quickly. He glanced at Qiushui. You are so gossipy at such a young age. Qiushui snorted coldly and turned her head away from him. Then, the three of them gathered together and whispered something. Because it was too quiet, he didn't hear it at all. Chapter 204 The Brutal Wang Qiushui. After the three of them finished chatting, Qiushui looked at him with a strange look in her eyes, while Qiushui was as hostile as ever, with no change. Therefore, he didn't know what they talked about. However, even if Wang Qiushui told him about the nightmare he had after killing someone, he should have used a more obscure statement. After all, Qiushui was still a child. Moreover, he didn't think it was funny. He was not a cold-blooded animal, and it was normal to have a nightmare after killing someone for the first time. However, he would not regret it. People like his former boss deserve to be killed. Next, it was boring opening and closing the lid and squeezing the juice. After watching for a while, even Qiushui felt bored. So, she was caught by Qiushui and practiced martial arts aside. He looked back from time to time and wanted to laugh when he saw Qiushui practicing martial arts with a miserable face. Finally, one time, he asked, do you want to come out next time? If you stayed in the building, you should be eating snacks and playing freely, not like now. Qiushui snorted coldly, I will come out next time. Qiushui scolded, focus. He shook his head, I'd better not disturb you practicing, otherwise your sister will beat me up later. After watching Qiushui practicing for a while, Wang Qiushui came to him again. It's so boring. Is there anything I can do? He was speechless. It's a rare opportunity to rest, but you find it boring. By the way, have you finished reading your novel? Or is your phone out of battery? Wang Qiushui waved his hand. I finished it a long time ago. I regret it now. I should have downloaded a few more books at the beginning. Then I wouldn't be so bored now. He shook his head. If other survivors saw you like this, they would definitely beat you up. After that, he pointed down. If you are really bored, go down and smash the zombies, and send those level 2 zombies who want to escape into the juicer. Wang Qiushui's eyes lit up. That's great. Watch me smash them all in there one by one. After saying that, he ran away swinging the hammer of the earth. He shouted from behind, remember to be safe. Wang Qiushui replied, got it. Qiushui looked at Wang Qiushui's figure going away and asked, what is she doing? Why does she look so excited? He replied, she felt too bored, so now she's going down to find trouble with those zombies. Qiushui asked, is Sister Qiushui going to kill zombies? He nodded, then shook his head, maybe she's going to torture zombies. Qiushui looked yearning, I want to kill zombies too. Qiushui cursed, with your current kung fu, you can only become meat in the mouths of zombies, and you still want to kill zombies. Qiushui's expression became firm, I will definitely practice hard, and then kill many zombies to avenge my grandfather. Qiushui opened her mouth, not knowing what to say, and then hugged Qiushui tightly. He sighed, turned his head and looked down. At this time, Wang Qiushui also came downstairs, waved to him at the window, and then walked towards the zombies step by step. Just as the lid was opened, some zombies began to jump into the juicer again. Some zombies targeted Wang Qiushui and rushed towards him. Wang Qiushui moved his body, then swung the hammer of the earth to meet him. The first level 1 zombie waved its claws at Wang Qiushui, trying to cut Wang Qiushui in half. He shook his head and began to mourn for the level 1 zombie. Wang Qiushui did not dodge at all and did not even blink his eyes. He swung the hammer of the earth directly and hit the waist of the level 1 zombie. Seeing this scene, he knew that these zombies were going to be unlucky. With Wang Qiushui's current strength, he could just hit them on the head. With the ability of the hammer of the earth, it should be no problem to kill one with one blow. But Wang Qiushui didn't do that and just smashed the zombies away. The level 1 zombie fell to the ground with a snap before he understood what was happening. When he tried to get up, he found that his waist was broken and he couldn't stand up at all. Then, Wang Qiushui rushed to the other zombies, injuring them all but not killing them completely. Soon, the ground was full of zombies, some with broken hands and feet, some with broken waists, and even some with broken necks. Anyway, this scene was particularly weird. As a result, the zombies on the side didn't dare to go up anymore and trembled at Wang Qiushui. Wang Qiushui frowned slightly and walked directly towards the group of zombies. At this moment, the lid of the juicer opened, and the zombies looked at Wang Qiushui, then at the juicer, and then jumped down without thinking. Wang Qiushui became even angrier and swung the hammer of the earth to smash it again. The group of zombies was smashed into a mess and ran around. At this time, the juicer was only half full. The zombies inside heard the various noises outside and felt a sense of security in their hearts. Their faces were much calmer. Wang Qiushui looked at the zombies running around, then looked at the juicer that was not yet full. Finally, she simply dragged the zombies that she had injured into the juicer. The zombies in the juicer were stunned again when they saw Wang Qiushui. They thought Wang Qiushui was going to chase them, but when they saw that Wang Qiushui was just throwing zombies in, they all breathed a sigh of relief. He saw this scene from above and couldn't help laughing. At this time, Qiushuy's voice came from the side. Sister Qiushui is so powerful. Those zombies are so scared that they dare not move. He turned his head and looked at Qiushui. Aren't you practicing martial arts? Why did you run over here? Qiushui snorted coldly. Sister told me to rest for a while. He nodded and looked down again. After Wang Qiushui threw all the zombies into the juicer, he closed the lid of the juicer. The zombies in the juicer seemed to realize what they had jumped into at this time and began to knock on the juicer, but it was obviously in vain. After doing all these things, Wang Qiushui looked at the zombies scattered everywhere, shook his head, and walked towards the building. The zombies watched Wang Qiushui walk away, and none of them dared to attack, let alone follow him secretly. After a while, Wang Qiushui came back. It's so boring. I'm obviously a human being, but those zombies not only didn't come up to attack me, but were scared away by me. Qiushui looked at Wang Qiushui with admiration. Sister Qiushui is so powerful. Wang Qiushui smiled proudly. He said unhappily, you still have the nerve to say that. You scared all the zombies away. Chapter 205 Bubble Experiment. Later, Wang Qiushui did not go down again. The main reason was that these zombies were too weak, and it was boring to beat them. Moreover, they ran away after a short fight, and she was too lazy to chase them. Moreover, this would affect the progress of juicing. In the next 2 or 3 days, they stayed in this place to squeeze juice until all the zombies were lured here and cleaned up. Of course, some zombies ran far away or were scattered, so they were not lured here, so there might be some fish that slipped through the net. However, most of the zombies driven here by the level 3 zombies have been cleaned up, and it can be said that there are not many zombies in this area. Wang Qiushui looked at the street below and sighed. There were so many zombies before, at least it looked lively. Now there are no zombies. It's like there are only a few of us left in the world, and there is a sense of loneliness. He patted Wang Qiushui's head. Even if they were not squeezed into juice, they would have run away when they saw you. What's the difference now? If those survivors surrounded by zombies heard what you said, they would probably be angry to death. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly and did not respond. Qiushui looked into the distance. Maybe this will be a good thing for the survivors. If they hadn't been killed by the zombies before, their chances of survival would be much higher. After all, there are no zombies in this place. Wang Qiushui smiled and said, "So, we accidentally did a good thing." He didn't answer. Qiushui glanced at him, and for a moment she was not sure whether what he had done before was intentional or unintentional. After a while, he said, "Let's go down." Wang Qiushui asked, "What about Zillion?" Although the zombies below have been almost cleared, there are still some ordinary zombies and level 1 zombies, and even some alert level 2 zombies are wandering around. He answered as a matter of course. "Of course we go down together. We are going to go back." Wang Qiushui asked in confusion, "But, aren't there still some zombies below? Don't you want to get rid of them?" He shook his head. "I have my own arrangements. You will know in a while." Wang Qiushui said and followed him down. Without much hesitation, Qiushui also took Qiushuy's hand and followed. However, she still said to Qiushui, "You hide behind for a while, be careful." Qiushui nodded. When he came to the second floor, he stopped directly, then took out a transformation needle and handed it to Qiushui. Qiushui was stunned for a moment and took the transformation needle. "Do you need me to transform and take out the juicer?" He shook his head. "No, you take it first, and I will tell you what to do later." Wang Qiushui looked at him. "What about me?" He pointed to the zombies below. "You don't need to transform, just kill all the zombies below. By the way, leave those level 2 zombies alone." Wang Qiushui was a little disappointed, but he still swung the hammer of the earth and walked down first. After a while, the sound of zombies being smashed came from below. These zombies had never experienced Wang Qiushui's beating, so at the beginning, each of them was extremely brave, fearing that they would fall behind other zombies. After seeing Wang Qiushui's brutality, one after another ran faster than the other. However, they still couldn't outrun Wang Qiushui's hammer of the earth. Then, Wang Qiushui shouted from below, "Done." Since Wang Qiushui didn't attack those level 2 zombies, they just watched from the side and didn't dare to attack Wang Qiushui, but they were reluctant to leave, so they were temporarily deadlocked. He said to Qiushui, "It's your turn. You will go down and turn invisible, then turn into a crab and use bubbles to trap those level 2 zombies. After they are trapped, we will go down." Qiushui responded, and then looked at her sister. "You follow your brother. I'll go do something first." Qiushui nodded when she heard it. Then, Qiushui began to transform and disappeared directly in front of the two of them after the transformation. When she came down, those level 2 zombies were still staying where they were. She walked behind a speed zombie, then turned into a crab form and spit out a bubble from her mouth. However, the moment she turned into a crab, her body was also directly exposed. The speed zombie felt something strange behind him, looked back and ran away. At the same time, a bubble so small that it was almost invisible fell on the speed zombie. Just as the speed zombie ran a distance, the bubble suddenly began to grow until it covered him completely and floated up into the sky with him. Seeing such a change, the other zombies also wanted to escape, but they were directly shocked by Qiushui's breath and could not move at all. In the end, they were trapped in the bubble one by one, floating in a row in the sky. In fact, Qiushui herself has the ability to be invisible, which can reduce her presence. In addition, she restrained her breath the moment she transformed, so she did not scare these level 2 zombies away when she transformed. After seeing Qiushui was done, he took Qiushui down. Of course, he originally wanted to hold Qiushui's hand to prevent her from falling, but Qiushui did not accept his kindness. When he came to the first floor, Qiushui still maintained the crab form, while Wang Qiushui looked at the bubbles in the air with curiosity and reached out to poke them from time to time. The level 2 zombies trapped in the bubbles roared and struggled, but they couldn't break the bubbles, as if the bubbles were something very hard. He looked at Qiushui. If these bubbles are used to deal with level 3 zombies, how long can they be trapped? Qiushui shook her head. Level 3 zombies are much stronger than level 2 zombies, and it is estimated that they can only be trapped for a few seconds. Moreover, their perception is more sensitive, especially the speed type zombies, which are extremely fast. I guess the small bubble trick I just used is unlikely to be effective against them. She was talking about spitting out small bubbles and then instantly expanding them when they are about to reach or fall on the opponent. Wang Qiushui on the side interrupted and said, then you don't have to deal with speed type zombies, just deal with the others. Besides, don't you have big pincers? Just catch them and then spit bubbles. I believe they can't escape even if they know. He agreed, yes, this is also a way. And it doesn't have to be limited to speed type zombies, as long as they can be trapped. The rest is not important. While they were talking, a bubble burst with a pop sound, and the zombie inside jumped out and fell to the ground, then ran away. Qiushui's aura directly suppressed the zombie, making it unable to move, and then clamped the zombie with her big pincers and dragged it back. Chapter 206 Sand Trap Experiment. He glanced at the zombie and nodded. Well, the bubble thing is not strong enough, especially against a sharp weapon like claws. It is easily pierced. The zombie that ran away was a claw type zombie, which should be the reason why he was the first to run out. Qiushui frowned. It seems that if it is a claw type zombie, it can last even shorter. At this time, another zombie was trying to break free from the bubble. Wang Qiushui was quick-witted and swung the hammer of the earth directly. As soon as the zombie broke free from the bubble, it was hit hard by Wang Qiushui and flew backwards and hit the wall. However, the head did not explode, so it should not be dead yet, but it seems that it can't get up. He glanced at the zombie again. Well, this one is a power type, and it can break out of the bubble under strong tearing. Wang Qiushui looked at the remaining zombies at this time. Although they had not yet broken free from the bubble, it looked like the bubble should be about to break free. She swung the hammer of the earth eagerly. Let me take care of the rest. He stopped Wang Qiushui. Wait a minute, I have to do an experiment. Wang Qiushui was confused. What other experiment is there? He looked at Qiushui. Can you use sand traps and bury all these zombies in it? Qiushui nodded. How deep? He thought for a while. Let's bury them halfway to see the effect. Qiushui put one of her pincers on the ground, and the ground began to fluctuate. The other big claw directly stuffed the speed type zombie in it. Then, her two pincers left the ground, and the ground solidified instantly, trapping the speed type zombie in the ground. It stretched out its hands and desperately slapped the ground, but it couldn't break free. Then, Qiushui did the same thing, and trapped all the zombies in the ground, arranging them in a row like planting carrots, neatly. Each zombie roared and slapped the ground with his hands. Some zombies with claws began to scratch the ground desperately, leaving traces. If time passes, they may break free. Wang Qiushui looked at this and that. It's quite fun, and in this way, they will let us slaughter them. He looked at Wang Qiushui with a look of grief. You are too much. You actually built the suffering of the zombies on your happiness. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly. I don't know who came up with this method. He said righteously, that's different. I'm doing an experiment. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a loud bang and a zombie jumped out first. However, he still had a large piece of cement on his body, and it seemed that he couldn't get rid of it. Wang Qiushui turned his head and looked. Hey, isn't this the powerful zombie that I beat so hard that he couldn't get up just now? I didn't expect that he would be the first one to come out. He nodded. He should have used his huge force to shatter the ground, so he was able to run out. However, the cement on his body will definitely affect his movements. He was not very flexible to begin with, and now his movements will become even slower. Qiushui asked, do you want to plant him back? He nodded. This time, plant him in the neck. Qiushui heard the words, and grabbed the zombie, touched the ground with one pliers, and then stuffed the zombie in, leaving only the head outside. During this period, because the ground turned into sand again, the other zombies found that they could move and struggled to get out. At this time, Wang Qiushui walked forward and gave each one a hammer. Of course, in order to avoid a headshot, she hit the shoulders and other places. When Wang Qiushui walked around, the zombies were buried deep in the soil one by one, leaving only one head outside. At the same time, Qiushui retracted the pliers in time, and the ground was completely solidified. This time, the zombies could hardly even turn their heads, let alone crawl out. After observing for a while, he was sure that the zombies could not get out, so he said to Qiushui, "Okay, put them in the juicer." Qiushui nodded and began to use the sand trap to pull out the zombies. Wang Qiushui would hit each zombie with a hammer whenever he saw one coming out and directly smash them out. They hit the lid of the juicer and then slid into the juicer. The cooperation between the two can be said to be seamless, and it was done in a short while. Then, he started the juicer and squeezed the zombies into juice. Wang Qiushui asked from the side, "Now that these zombies have been dealt with, should we prepare to deal with those level 3 zombies?" He nodded. "Go back and have a good rest later, and we will start tomorrow morning." Wang Qiushui continued to ask, "Have you thought of a plan?" He replied, "Almost. It depends on how many level 3 zombies will appear tomorrow." Qiushui glanced at the juicer buried in the ground. "Do you want to get it out?" He shook his head. "No, I still need it tomorrow." Wang Qiushui was shocked. "Are we going to fight the level 3 zombies here tomorrow? Isn't it a little closer to where we live?" He smiled. "The final battle will be here, but tomorrow we will go to the previous place first, put on the title, and then see how many level 3 zombies there are. If there are still only the previous 6, we will lure them here and get rid of them all at once." Wang Qiushui opened his mouth in surprise. "Did I hear you right? You plan to get rid of 6 at once?" Qiushui also asked. "Qiushui and I can deal with 1 at most. What about the remaining 4? Even if we can successfully get rid of the opponent, you will be in danger for a period of time in between. And if the 2 of us are besieged by 3 zombies respectively, let alone being able to deal with them, we will be lucky not to die." Wang Qiushui nodded in agreement. "With our equipment, 1 against 2 is barely okay, but 1 against 3 we can only run away. The equipment allows us to crush the opponent, but that is only crushing 1, not crushing multiple." Even Qiushui, who had been looking at Qiushui without saying a word, said, "If you want to die, go by yourself, but don't take my sister and sister Qiushui with you." He shook his head. "Anyway, don't worry, I never do anything without confidence, and I will show you my true strength tomorrow." Wang Qiushui opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but finally said, "Okay, I believe you." Qiushui thought for a while and said, "I'll come tomorrow. Let Zillion stay at home." He nodded. "Of course. Tomorrow is too dangerous. Even if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't let you bring Zillion here." Chapter 207 5 Level 3 Zombies. The next morning, the 3 of them gathered and prepared to set off. Qiushui held Qiushui's hand. "Sister, can you not go? I'm so scared." Qiushui touched her sister's head. "Don't worry, sister promises you that I will come back safely." Qiushui reluctantly let go of her hand. The 3 of them walked forward all the way, and none of them spoke. Some of the fish that slipped through the net on the road were killed by Qiushui alone. When they arrived at the first building, there were no zombies here. It was hard to imagine that a few days ago, this place was densely packed with zombies, and you couldn't even get in. As usual, he waited on the side, and Wang Qiushui and Qiushui began to clean up some of the remaining zombies. The strength of these zombies was too weak, and they could not last more than a minute in the hands of Wang Qiushui and the others. After dealing with those zombies, Wang Qiushui and the others began to rest. He quietly turned on the scanner, observed for a while, and found that there were indeed no zombies nearby. After seeing no trace of level 3 zombies in the entire scanner range, he turned off the scanner. At this time, the 2 had rested for a while, and looked at him, waiting for his next arrangement. He looked at the 2 and said, "There is still no trace of level 3 zombies in the scanner range. They probably don't know how large the scanner's coverage is, so it is very likely that they have returned to their respective territories. After I wear the title, I will stay here and see how many level 3 zombies will come. If there are less than 6, we will act according to the situation. If there are more than 6, run in the direction of fewer and defeat them one by one." Wang Qiushui asked again, "Are you sure you can deal with 6? He hesitated. "Actually, to be safer, it is better for each of you to deal with 1. With me, that's 3. However, I want to take a gamble this time. If it succeeds, we can get rid of these level 3 zombies at the same time." Qiushui felt strange. "Why do I feel that you are too aggressive this time?" It's like you are eager to kill them. He nodded. Because I want to upgrade quickly. This time, we finally encountered so many level 3 zombies, and we are in a good position. If we go a little further, it is likely that we will attract more than so few level 3 zombies. And level 3 zombies have a certain IQ. If we can't completely get rid of them this time, they may not come again next time. Wang Qiushui said directly. Okay, then I will bet with you. Qiushui said, if anything happens to me, remember to take good care of my sister. He shook his head. Don't worry, you have the abilities of the crab man. Among the three of us, you are definitely the least likely to die. Qiushui was speechless for a moment. It seemed that this was really the truth. Not only can she spit bubbles to trap the enemy and take the opportunity to escape, but she can also use sand traps to hide herself in the ground. Even if she is seriously injured, she can still shed her shell and be reborn. In addition to the protection of the martial arts uniform, she is indeed the toughest one among the three. He looked at the two again. Then am I ready to start now? The two nodded in unison. He directly put on the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer and turned on the scanner at the same time. At the beginning, there was no response. After a while, the scanner finally saw the appearance of level 3 zombies. At the same time, there were some scattered low-level zombies rushing here. He said, just like before, there are 2 in the north, 1 in the east, 3 in the west, and none in the south, a total of 6. It seems that they are all here. Wang Qiushui asked nervously, should we leave now? He waved his hand. No hurry, they are still some distance away from us now, let's wait and see. After that, he took out the transformation needle, physical strength medicine, and healing medicine, and distributed them to the 2 people. Take these. I don't need to tell you about the transformation needle and physical strength medicine. This is a level 3 healing medicine, which can continuously heal your injuries within 1 minute, which means that it can keep you alive within 1 minute, as long as you are not injured by a headshot that kills you instantly. Save this thing for the most urgent moment. The two nodded at the same time. At this time, he looked up to the east. A guest has arrived. The two of them looked over and saw a female zombie with claws standing on the roof in the east. It was the one who ran away before. They both clenched their weapons at the same time and took the transformation needle to prepare for transformation. Once a fight started, they had to get rid of the female zombie before the remaining zombies arrived, and they had to protect her safety. At this time, a trace of hesitation flashed across the face of the female zombie, and then she actually jumped in the direction she came from without looking back. Wang Qiushui stopped acupuncture and looked at him. Is she leaving? Qiushui also felt a little strange. Why did she leave before the fight started? He looked at the scanner, and soon the female zombie disappeared from the range of the scanner. He nodded. It seems so at the moment. At least she can't be seen in the scanner range. I think she recognized you too, and felt she couldn't beat you, so she just ran away. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly. Luckily she ran fast, otherwise I would have to keep her here. Qiushui nodded. He looked at the two of them at this time. I'll start now, and go back to where the juicer is. Those level 3 zombies will pass by here later, and you two will be responsible for holding them back. Wang Qiushui asked, is it just a matter of holding them back? He nodded. I will pay attention to you then. You must test every zombie and try to know their abilities as much as possible so that the implementation of the plan will be more effective. The two said in unison, no problem. He then looked at Wang Qiushui again. You will have to work hard later. When the time is almost right, I will ask Zilan to retreat first. You will have to hold on for a while and hold back the remaining 5 zombies. Wang Qiushui was surprised. I fight 5 alone. Do you think I might, man? Qiushui hurriedly said, no need to do that. In fact, we can retreat together, or I can stay. After all, my martial arts suit has a shield, and my crab transformation makes me more resistant to beatings. He shook his head. No, my plan still needs you, so you must come early. Even the success of today's plan depends on you. Qiushui looked at Wang Qiushui and didn't respond. Chapter 208 Procrastination. He pulled Wang Qiushui aside and said, I know this is very dangerous, so you only need to hold on for a minute. And I don't want you to take risks here, but firstly, your arms can be stretched out, so you can run faster. Secondly, I really need Sullen's help, otherwise I can't set up the trap. Wang Qiushui nodded sullenly and asked again after a while, will you be in danger? He smiled. No, why would I put myself in danger? Wang Qiushui looked at his face and then said viciously, if you put yourself in danger, I will deal with you. He waved his hands repeatedly. Don't worry, I won't. After everything was discussed, he rode his bicycle to the juicer. Since those zombies were coming for him, they would definitely meet Wang Qiushui and the others. At that time, as long as they transformed in time, they could intercept the 5 level 3 zombies. As soon as he returned to the juicer, Wang Qiushui and the others also transformed. He switched directly to Wang Qiushui's perspective and began to observe. Some low-level zombies in front had been dealt with by Wang Qiushui and his companions, and the ground was littered with corpses. The 5 level 3 zombies were not prepared to attack Wang Qiushui and his companions. After all, he was the primary target of these level 3 zombies. However, after Wang Qiushui and his companions saw the level 3 zombies passing by, they transformed directly. The level 3 zombies were stunned when they saw 2 opponents of the same level suddenly appearing. Then, Wang Qiushui and his companions rushed up and fought with the level 3 zombies. The level 3 zombies were originally hesitant about whether to take action. After all, they did not come for a fight, and they were more worried that the aura would disappear like last time, and then they would have made a wasted trip. As a result, Wang Qiushui and his companions attacked them first, and they had no choice but to take action. They could not be beaten in vain. He silently observed through Wang Qiushui's perspective. These 5 were humanoid zombies, and there was no speed type among them, so it was no wonder that their speeds were almost the same. Their abilities are more common. One has a body of steel, one relies on fat to resist beatings, one has claws, another has regeneration like a high-speed train zombie, and the last one has super jumping ability. Through a short battle, he can only see this much. More needs a long battle to see. And with the strength of Wang Qiushui and the other person, it is not easy to stop these 5 level 3 zombies, let alone a long battle. The most important thing is that having this information is enough for him. So, he first said to Wang Qiushui, it will be hard for you next, just hold on for 1 minute. Wang Qiushui kicked the zombie in front of him away, and then swung the hammer of the earth to smash a zombie that came up and flew away. I'll try my best, but I can't guarantee that I can stop them. He replied, it's okay, you just do your best. The most important thing is to pay attention to safety. Wang Qiushui nodded and went up again. He then said to Qiushui, now, quickly retreat to the juicer. Qiushui was stunned for a second, then transformed directly into a zombie, then rode her bicycle and rushed towards him. She knew very well that she could not hesitate at all, otherwise, not only would it disrupt her plan, but it would also put Wang Qiushui in danger. The level 3 zombies who were fighting with Qiushui watched Qiushui disappear from their sight, and even her breath completely disappeared, and they could not help but be stunned. After a while, they came to their senses and wanted to rush towards him. At this time, Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth to stop them one by one. The 5 level 3 zombies looked at Wang Qiushui together, making bursts of ho-ho sounds from their mouths. Wang Qiushui held the hammer handle with one hand, looked at the 5 level 3 zombies in front of him, and shouted, from this moment on, your opponent is me. Then he rushed over and threw the level 3 healing medicine into his mouth. He watched all this silently, opened his mouth to ask her to stop, but didn't say anything in the end. Because he knew that, even if he said it now, Wang Qiushui would not listen to him. He silently calculated the time in his heart, and when it reached 1 minute, he shouted directly in Wang Qiushui's mind, enough, go. Wang Qiushui wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, looked at the level 3 zombies fiercely, then turned around, stretched out her arms, and put them on the building, and the next second she flew out. Then, she shuttled between the buildings, like a female version of Spider-Man. He said in a deep voice, you don't have to fight so hard. It would be enough to stop only 1 or 2. Wang Qiushui smiled, if that happens, your plan will be greatly compromised. Besides, I have the level 3 healing medicine, and I won't die. I just got beaten up at most, which is nothing. He was silent for a while, and then asked in a trembling voice, does it hurt? Wang Qiushui's eyes were slightly moist, but he still smiled and replied, "It hurt a little just now, but it doesn't hurt at all now." He said oh, and didn't say anything else. After Wang Qiushui left, the level 3 zombies looked at each other and rushed towards him again. At this time, Qiushui had returned. She saw him standing next to the juicer and asked directly, "What do you need me to do next?" He pointed to the juicer with the lid opened. "Can you cover it with sand?" Qiushui asked, "Do you mean to fill the juicer?" He shook his head, "Just cover it with a layer. By the way, cover the entire juicer without any flaws." Qiushui nodded and started to act, but she still reminded, "But once my pliers leave, this place will still become hard." He replied, "I know, just do what I say first." Soon, the juicer was covered directly with cement, exactly the same as the surrounding ground. No one would have thought that there was a juicer hidden underneath. He walked over and stepped on it twice. "It's quite solid." Qiushui asked, "What should I do next?" He turned around and looked at Qiushui. "Just stand outside and do nothing. When I shout, just turn this land into sand. By the way, remember to be invisible. Don't show up before I shout." Qiushui felt a little strange when she heard it, but she still transformed into a zombie and slowly disappeared into the air. He looked into the distance. "I'm really looking forward to your arrival." Chapter 209 Desertification Trap. However, he recalled the abilities of the zombies just now and said, "No, you have to stand next to me. If I open my mouth, you will turn the land in front of me into sand." Then, Qiushui's voice sounded beside him, "Okay." After a while, Wang Qiushui's figure began to appear at the end of the street. She was like Tarzan, shuttling between high-rise buildings. The high-rise buildings not only failed to hinder her, but became her support point. Behind her were the 5 level 3 zombies, rushing forward like human bulldozers. Although Wang Qiushui could rush a long distance every time, she was not a speed type after all, so she could not distance herself from the zombies behind her. However, even without her leading the way, the zombies would follow the breath of the title of Thousand Corpse Slayer. Wang Qiushui saw his standing figure from a distance and shouted, "Are you crazy? Hurry up." He smiled and did not move. Wang Qiushui glanced at him and was about to turn around to stop those level 3 zombies. At this time, his calm voice sounded in Wang Qiushui's mind, "I have planned everything. You just keep running towards me now. By the way, don't stay beside me. It's best to keep a distance from me." Wang Qiushui paused for a moment, finally gritted his teeth, and rushed forward again. The level 3 zombies also felt his presence and looked at Wang Qiushui, who was rushing forward, and suddenly they all rushed forward as if they had been injected with chicken blood. In fact, they completely ignored the obstacles in front of them, and no matter what was in front of them, they would directly hit it, just to be faster. The next second, Wang Qiushui flew over his head. She slowly lowered her hand a little, as if she wanted to take him with her, and finally gritted her teeth, and flew directly over, landing not far behind him. He turned around, and smiled at Wang Qiushui, then looked forward with a solemn expression. The level 3 zombies were rushing towards him with the momentum of death, but the 5 of them were running at about the same speed, so they were almost on the same horizontal line. It seemed that they would arrive in front of him at the same time. He only had one, so it was hard to say who would succeed in the end. However, when there was still some distance between them, the zombie with super jumping ability suddenly jumped up and flew directly into the air. When it landed, it would probably be in front of him. The other 4 zombies didn't seem to have thought that this zombie actually had such an ability. They were all anxious and rushed forward desperately, hoping to catch up. Qiushui beside him was stunned. She didn't expect that such a zombie would have such a strong jumping ability. Because the size of this zombie was too huge, it looked like a fat man weighing 300 or 400 pounds. Not to mention, being able to jump and fly, it was even difficult to run faster. Therefore, the scene at this time would give people a huge impact. Just like in Shaolin soccer, no one could have imagined that the fat man could actually float on water with light skills. In fact, the fat zombie did not directly show his jumping ability in the battle, let alone make such a move. However, he has been observing these zombies. he noticed that every time the fat zombie was beaten by Wang Qiushui, he would keep jumping on the ground to relieve the impact and stop as quickly as possible. This detail just shows that the fat zombie is not as clumsy as it looks, but is very flexible. And since it can jump continuously, it is not surprising that it has super jumping ability. Obviously, this fat zombie is not a fuel-saving lamp, so it has been hiding its clumsiness to avoid attracting the attention of its own kind or being besieged by its own kind. Until this moment, he showed it directly and showed his fangs. Wang Qiushui looked at the fat zombie in the air, then looked at him and almost couldn't help but reach out to pull him back. In the end, she held back. After all, if he really needed it, he would definitely tell her. The fat zombie flew in the air, looked at Wang Qiushui proudly, and then looked at him, as if he was looking at something in his bag. Although he didn't understand why Wang Qiushui ran to the back directly without attacking him, but now he was his own. The next second, the fat zombie was about to fall in front of him. There was no way. This was the limit distance, but it didn't matter. As long as he took another step forward or threw a punch, he could kill him. Thinking of this, the fat zombie's face showed a ferocious look. At this time, he suddenly sneered and then shouted, "Do it." Wang Qiushui subconsciously rushed forward, but soon realized that this sentence was not said to her, so he stopped again. Sure enough, next to him, Qiushui, who had turned into a crab, slowly appeared. However, she did not attack the fat zombie, nor did she pull him back, but directly pressed her pincers to the ground. The next second, the place where the pincers touched was directly sandified and turned into a ball of sand. However, from the outside, it still looked no different from before. The fat zombie felt something was wrong, but because he was in the air and had no fulcrum, he had no way to escape and could only watch his body fall. At this time, he gritted his teeth and punched forward, wanting to fight to the death. Wending was well prepared. When Qiushui turned the land in front of him into sand, he had already begun to retreat and came directly to the middle of the juicer and stood still again. Wang Qiushui was still behind him, but she was relieved when she saw that he was fine. At the same time, she was a little puzzled about his position. She remembered that it seemed to be the position of the juicer. She guessed that maybe he wanted to hide in the juicer for a while. After all, the juicer was the safest place here, and it was almost impossible for the zombies to break it. With a bang, the fat zombie fell into the desertified land, splashing a lot of sand. Then, he kicked his feet and his body began to pull up, and it seemed that he was about to break free from the shackles of the sand. At this time, without him saying anything, Qiushui stretched out her big claws, grabbed the fat zombie, and pressed it into the ground, leaving only its head outside. Then, her two claws left the ground. The ground solidified instantly, trapping the fat zombie inside. The level 3 zombies in the distance breathed a sigh of relief, finally preventing the fat zombie from getting there first. However, they looked at Qiushui with hostility. This opponent was not easy to deal with, not to mention that there was Wang Qiushui behind him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Severely Injured and Dying. At this time, he said in Qiushui's mind, hide once more, and this time just stand on the edge of the juicer. When I shout, you can directly turn the soil covering the juicer into sand, and then let it fall into the juicer, or let the sand flow to both sides. The most important thing is to be fast. Qiushui nodded, then transformed back into zombie form, and disappeared into the air again. Seeing Qiushui disappear, the remaining 4 zombies stopped instead, looking around vigilantly, fearing that they would be attacked by Qiushui. He stood in the middle of the juicer, then looked at the zombies with a contemptuous smile, and then shouted loudly, I'm standing here, you come over. Hearing this extremely sarcastic voice, the zombie with regenerative ability and the zombie with thick fat all over his body roared, and then rushed towards him regardless, stomping on the ground. The remaining 2 copper-skinned and iron-boned zombies and claws hesitated for a moment and hurried to follow. Firstly, someone of the same kind had already gone ahead and would be the first to be hit, whether it was a beating or a trap. Secondly, if they didn't go over, they would have no chance at all. Wang Qiushui took a step forward, hesitating whether to go over. After all, he had no protective gear on him, and there were 4 level 3 zombies on the opposite side, and only one attack would take his life. He had already guessed that Wang Qiushui might take action, so he said directly in her mind, "Don't move, it's not time for you to take action yet." If Wang Qiushui really came up, she would either scare the other party away. If she got entangled with the other party, then his juicer plan would not be implemented. Therefore, he could only stop Wang Qiushui from going forward. Wang Qiushui stopped again immediately, but looked at him anxiously. Seeing that the 2 zombies were getting closer and closer, he also started to run back. But in order to always pay attention to the actions of the zombies in front of him, in order to avoid their attacks, he faced the zombies head on and retreated step by step. When the 2 zombies were about to approach him, he actually ran back. He couldn't stand it anymore. The duck that was about to be in his mouth actually wanted to fly away. Who could resist this? So, the 2 of them completely ignored everything around them and only had him in their eyes, and they only knew to rush straight to his direction. The distance between the 2 sides was gradually shortened, and he also stepped back to the edge of the juicer. At this time, the 2 zombies just stepped into the range of the juicer, and they only needed to rush a few more steps to reach him. Suddenly, he was even more motivated and rushed forward with big strides, shaking the ground. The 2 zombies following behind seemed to hear something wrong, so they actually stopped directly, just outside the juicer. He sighed and originally wanted to take down the pot, but it seemed that this time it would not work. So he shouted, "Do it." Qiushui appeared at the edge of the juicer, turned into a crab at the fastest speed, and put her claws on the ground. The 2 zombies running on the juicer saw Qiushui suddenly appear and just turned their heads to look, but rushed forward at a faster speed. No matter what, they didn't want to be planted in the soil like the bouncing zombie just now, especially when they were about to succeed. The next second, the ground began to sand. Since the bottom of this floor was originally hollow, the sand all fell into the juicer below at the moment of sandification. The 2 zombies running above also fell down. However, at this time, a sudden change occurred. The zombie with regenerative ability kicked the fat zombie and pounced on him with the rebound force. The fat zombie's falling speed was not fast. After being kicked, he let out an unwilling roar and fell directly to the bottom of the juicer. He looked at this scene and sighed. Sure enough, there is number 100% perfect plan. Especially when encountering these high-level zombies, simple strategies can no longer solve the problem. The renewable zombie was getting closer and closer to Wending, and at the same time, he clenched his fists, ready to blow Wending's head with one punch. At that time, he could directly advance to level 4, and all the level 3 zombies here would no longer be his opponents. He had already leaned his upper body back and kicked out at the same time when the renewable zombie rushed over. Although his physical strength had been greatly improved, it was obviously not enough in front of this level 3 zombie. So, he only avoided the fatal punch with his head, but did not dodge with his body. The fist landed on his chest, instantly smashing his ribs, making a crackling sound. At the same time, his foot also kicked the renewable zombie, but it only made the opponent retreat a little, far from falling back into the juicer. Then, he was knocked back by the punch. At this time, he saw from the corner of his eye that an outstretched arm swung the hammer of the earth and hit the renewable zombie, and it also flew back. He quickly controlled the juicer to close the lid, just enough to cover the renewable zombie, and then started the juicer. He kept flying backwards, spitting blood, until a certain moment, he found himself caught by something. Then, he saw Wang Qiushui, with tears in her eyes, looking at him with worry. He wanted to raise his hand to wipe away Wang Qiushui's tears, but found that he had no strength left, so he had to say vaguely, "You just lied to me and said it didn't hurt, but it hurt like hell." Wang Qiushui's tears flowed faster. "Are you stupid? What did you promise me just now? You said you wouldn't put yourself in danger." Qiushui walked backwards while being on guard against the 2 zombies, turned her head and looked at him, wanting to ask something, but not knowing how to start. At this time, the two zombies carefully bypassed the juicer in the middle and walked over here. Qiushui didn't say much and went up to meet them with two large pliers. Although this form moves a little slower, it can at least withstand a beating and hold out for as long as possible, buying time for the two. Suddenly, he slowly raised his hand and wiped Wang Qiushui's tears. "You go over and help. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine after a rest." Wang Qiushui shook his head. "I want to accompany you to finish the last part of the journey." He was stunned for a moment. "I can't die. Why should I walk the last part of the journey?" Wang Qiushui was stunned. "Didn't you vomit blood just now? I heard the sound of bones breaking, and you couldn't even lift your hands. Plus, you don't have any protective gear. How can you withstand the attack of a level 3 zombie?" Chapter 211 The Reason for Reckless Advance. He shook his head when he heard it. "What you said is alright, but did you forget the 3rd level healing medicine? I swallowed the healing medicine in my mouth before I was hit, and I didn't die because I wasn't hit in the vital parts." Wang Qiushui let go of his hand angrily after hearing it. "Why didn't you say it earlier? You made my tears flow in vain." He fell to the ground with a hiss. "It hurts so much. Repairing the body requires a lot of energy. I couldn't even lift my hands just now, let alone explain to you. You just held off 5 3rd level zombies by yourself, and the injuries you suffered were about the same as mine." Wang Qiushui helped him up with heartache. "I had a dark skirt to block it, and I took most of the damage. Are you crazy? Just go ahead like that? If you had dodged a little slower, or if the zombie's fist had hit you a little harder, you would have been dead, you know?" He forced a smile with difficulty. "I know, but now it seems that this life is worth it. We solved 3 at once, and now there are only 2 left, which happens to be 1 for you and Zilan. After killing them, it won't be long before we can upgrade to the next level." Wang Qiushui sighed. "There's no need to be so anxious. If we kill slowly, we'll be able to accumulate enough to upgrade to the next level sooner or later." He shook his head. "There are so many level 3 zombies in this area alone. If we want to move forward, we must reach a higher level. Only by wearing a title can we attract a large number of zombies, especially high level zombies." Wang Qiushui looked at him. "So, this is why you are trying your best to upgrade to level 4. He nodded. "When I reach level 4, I can have armor, and I won't be a burden to you." Yes, since he was almost ambushed by a level 2 zombie that day, he prepared to upgrade himself to a set of armor. First of all, whether it is simply attracting high level zombies, or having high level zombies drive low level zombies over, they are all ways to quickly gain experience, so he can't use the method of wearing a title. And as the number of opponents increases, and the level rises, he must upgrade himself to a set of armor, so that he will be safer. Secondly, he now has enough experience, and upgrading a set of armor does not cost much, and the benefits are huge. It is completely worth it. Thirdly, after he has armor, Wang Qiushui and the others can kill zombies more confidently, and he will not become a burden to them. However, when he took out a set of clothes and prepared to upgrade, he was told by the system that he could not have his own armor before level 4. After reaching level 4, the system will specially provide him with a set of armor. He was completely confused at the time. He finally made up his mind, and he had enough experience points in his hands, but he heard such news. It felt like he was holding a huge sum of money to buy something, but the boss told him that he would not sell it. Although he cursed the system for being a ripoff, he could not change this fact, and in the end he could only accept his fate. In fact, before implementing this plan, he had also considered letting Wang Qiushui and the others kill directly, and he could use the method of standing and retreating to defeat these zombies one by one. However, after seeing that the speed type zombie ran away directly, he still resolutely used himself as bait. Because if those level 3 zombies are scared, they might run away. And killing one level 3 zombie is equivalent to killing 10 level 2 zombies, 100 level 1 zombies, and 1000 ordinary zombies. Almost all the zombies in this area have been killed. To reach such a number, it means that they have to go further. However, what is farther away is still unknown, and the way back and forth will also take a lot of time, which is not worth it. So, he took the risk, and chose the method just now. However, now it seems that everything is worth it. 5 level 3 zombies, none of them can escape, which is equivalent to a full 5,000 kills. Next, as long as they kill a few more, and achieve the goal of 10,000 kills, they can consider killing level 4 zombies, and advance to the next level. Wang Qiushui naturally knew these things, so he looked at him deeply, and helped him sit next to the wall. You wait here, I will help Zilan get rid of those 2 zombies. He nodded. Then Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth, and walked over step by step with a murderous aura. The bouncing zombies, that were struggling hard in the ground, dared not move. After seeing Wang Qiushui, the 2 zombies who were beating Zilan and trying to get past her also stopped all of a sudden, as if they saw something terrifying. Then, they turned around, and wanted to run. At this time, Zilan spit out 2 bubbles. Want to run? Not that easy. She had not used this trick just now, because the time she could trap the opponent was too short, and it was meaningless. It would be better to save it for the critical moment, and now it finally came in handy. The 2 zombies just ran a few steps, and found that their bodies were floating in the air, and there was an extra bubble on their bodies, wrapping their whole bodies. They began to struggle hard, tearing the bubble with their hands. The bubble began to deform, and I believe it will not last long. Suddenly, an outstretched arm swung a hammer, and smashed from a distance, hitting one of the bubbles. The hammer directly broke the bubble that was about to burst, and then fell on the zombie inside. The zombie was hit hard, and flew out spitting black liquid. The other zombie was shocked and struggled even harder. At this time, Zilan's pliers directly broke through the bubble, clamped the zombie inside, pulled him down, and smashed him hard to the ground. Then, he swung it up and smashed it hard to the ground again. You beat me so well just now, right? Now let you have a taste of this. Wang Qiushui happened to walk to Zilan's side, and was about to clean up the zombie that was smashed. Zilan asked, is he okay? Just now, she was fighting and paying attention to the movement over there. Wang Qiushui nodded. He won't die for a while, but the injury is too serious. I guess he needs to rest for a while. Zilan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Wang Qiushui smiled. Yeah. Then he walked towards the zombie step by step. The zombie was so frightened when he saw Wang Qiushui approaching that he forgot to run and tried to hide backwards. However, there was a wall behind him, so it was useless to hide. He was sitting on the ground with his back against the wall and saw this scene. He couldn't help but sigh. So, you can't make a woman angry. After all, an angry woman is too scary. Then he added, especially a beautiful woman. Chapter 212. He was kidnapped. Wang Qiushui and his partner were beating up the zombies while he was resting on the side. Everything seemed to have settled down. At this moment, a roar of a car suddenly sounded in the distance. Then, a military vehicle drove over quickly from a distance, but the dented front of the car showed that the car was often hit. Wang Qiushui and his partner stopped and looked at the car. Especially Wang Qiushui's eyes narrowed slightly, and she remembered some things in the past. He looked directly at the people in the car, and then sneered. These people are really lucky. They can't die, even if they are so desperate. That's right, these people were the racing gangs at the beginning. At that time, Wang Qiushui's body was still controlled by him. When he came back from exploring the community, he was almost hit to death by these people. But speaking of it, he admired these people. Not only did they not die for so long, but they dared to rush over even though they knew there were several level 3 zombies here. Wang Qiushui looked over. Is it them? He nodded. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly, and the hand holding the hammer handle tightened unconsciously. She almost lost her life at the beginning, so she had to take revenge. However, considering that the other party didn't know she was a human, she would just break his legs. Zilan didn't understand why, but she was also very unhappy with these people's bold style. They were desperately killing level 3 zombies here, but those people took advantage of the zombies being killed and drove here. They were so disrespectful to them. Those people obviously felt the malice of Wang Qiushui and Zilan. It was still very uncomfortable to be stared at by 2 level 3 zombies. So, they stepped on the accelerator and drove past here. Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth violently, but it was still a little slow, and failed to hit the car. Seeing this, Zilan gave up. She didn't have the ability of Wang Qiushui, and there was no way to stop a car driving at high speed. Just when they thought the car was going to rush over, the car suddenly turned a corner and rushed in directly. Qiushui was stunned for a moment, but found that the car was not coming towards them, but towards Wending. Without thinking much, she rushed towards him. Wang Qiushui was even more anxious. He was completely powerless now. If he was hit, he would be dead. But she had just stretched out her hand and had no time to retract it, so she couldn't stop the other party. He frowned, asking himself that he had never provoked these people, let alone met them head on. What's more, were these people risking their lives just to hit him to death? Even if they really did it, they couldn't run away. After all, there were 2 level 3 zombies, Wang Qiushui and Qiushui, present. Because of this, he couldn't figure out why the other party did this. At this time, the driver suddenly swung the steering wheel when the car was about to hit him. The car body swung 90 degrees directly, and the friction between the tires and the ground made a harsh sound. Black marks left by the friction of the tires could even be seen on the ground. His hand was on the ground, and under his hand, the death and life knife was ready to be unsheathed at any time. He would not surrender obediently, not to mention that these people looked like ordinary people. It would be too embarrassing for him to capsize here. Suddenly, the car door opened, and the man at the edge grabbed his collar and lifted him up, shouting, "Drive." The driver saw from the rearview mirror that Qiushui was approaching quickly in the form of a zombie, and couldn't help cursing, "What kind of monster is this?" Then he stepped on the accelerator and turned the steering wheel to drive out directly. The moment he was lifted up, he put away the sword of life and death and quickly exchanged a few transformation needles and physical strength medicine and healing medicine and threw them down, which were enough for Wang Qiushui and the other 2. The people in the car were busy escaping, so naturally they didn't see him throwing things down. Even if they saw it, they probably wouldn't care, and at most they would think it fell out. Then, the car door closed, and he was thrown into the car, like a cargo. Behind, Qiushui was still running wildly, but she could only watch the car go away, and a strong sense of unwillingness surged in her heart. She never thought that this would happen in the end. Wang Qiushui stretched out his arm and put it on Qiushui's shoulder, holding her back. "Don't chase him," he just said, "that we should finish this place first, and then go find him. He has just dropped down the things we need." Qiushui stood still. But, is he really not in danger like this? Wang Qiushui shook his head. "I don't know, but since he said so, it should be okay. Although he can't beat high-level zombies, it's still easy to deal with these humans. Besides, since those people just kidnapped him instead of killing him, there shouldn't be any danger for the time being." Yes, this is exactly what he thought. Besides, he also wanted to know where these people's lair was. Now it's better for someone to lead the way directly than for him to beat these people up and then find them, and it can also avoid alerting the enemy. Judging from the arrogant style of these people and the fact that they kidnapped him directly, they are definitely not good people. As for danger, as the saying goes, you can't get a tiger cub without going into the tiger's den. What's more, with his current strength, he really doesn't take ordinary humans seriously. You know, his physical strength can support the transformation for 22 minutes, which is almost 4 times that of an ordinary woman. Qiushui heard this and said worriedly, "But, he was injured so badly just now, can he do it?" Wang Qiushui was stunned for a moment, and a murderous look flashed in his eyes. "So we have to be quick." The 2 zombies in the distance, who could no longer get up, only felt a murderous aura lingering above their heads, and they were so scared that they began to tremble. He was lying in the middle of the 2 seats at this time, and asked weakly, "Who are you? Where do you want to take me?" A young man on the seat kicked him. "Who do you care who we are? Don't even care where we want to take you. Just lie down obediently. Also, don't move around, otherwise you can't blame us if you lose your life later." At this time, a slightly calmer young man next to the driver said, "Be gentle. If you kill someone later, we will have worked in vain, and it will be difficult to report back." He stopped talking after hearing this, but he had already included these people in his death list in his mind. If the Survivor organization really wanted to save him, it would definitely not be so mysterious. However, I had never seen these people around Xiaopao before. It seemed that these people were not in the same group with Xiaopao and the masked man who raised fish. However, since they risked their lives to take him away, they must have no good intentions. They were probably doing experiments or something like that. Chapter 213. Human heart is evil. On the other side, Wang Qiushui and his partner quickly killed the 3 zombies. At the same time, the juicer was turned on under his remote control, and the remaining 3 zombies were also squeezed into juice. Then, Qiushui turned the ground into sand, and took out the smaller juicer. Wang Qiushui picked up the transformation needle and other things that fell on the ground. The 2 of them removed their transformation, and rode back on their bicycles. On the way, Qiushui asked, "Why don't we chase him now? 1 minute later, he will be more dangerous." Wang Qiushui shook his head. He asked us to go back and rest for a while, replenish our physical strength, fill our stomachs by the way, and then go over. Because he hasn't reached the destination yet, and it's daytime now, we are too conspicuous walking on the road, which is easy to expose the target and alert the enemy. Qiushui nodded when she heard this. In addition to the physical consumption, the mental consumption of their fight with the level 3 zombies is also not small. Especially dancing on the edge of life and death has caused them a lot of pressure, and they really need to rest well. Wang Qiushui thought for a moment, then said, "Why don't you stay here tonight? I'll go there alone." Qiushui asked in surprise, "Why?" Wang Qiushui explained, "Our opponent tonight is a human. I can handle it alone. And if you go with us, what about Zillion? Are you sure you want her to stay at home alone? If something unexpected happens, you will regret it." Qiushui hesitated for a moment, "Then take her with you. Don't forget that my invisibility can take you in with me, and it will be more convenient to sneak in then. Although I have never killed anyone, I'm not the kind of person who can't tell right from wrong, and I will definitely not hold you back." Wang Qiushui thought about it, and finally nodded. "Then take Zillion with you. We will find a safe place nearby for her to hide, and then we will sneak in." Qiushui responded, "It's decided." On the other side, he lay in the car and simply closed his eyes. On the one hand, he was recovering his strength, and on the other hand, he was silently starting the scan. The intelligence would determine the outcome of tonight's action. Seeing him close his eyes, the yellow-haired young man who had kicked him earlier curled his lips and said, "This kid is a dead pig that is not afraid of boiling water." He actually closed his eyes to rest. Sitting next to him was the young man who grabbed his collar and lifted him up. What else can he do? He is just lucky to meet us, otherwise he would have become food for the 2 zombies just now. The yellow-haired young man nodded. The strength of those 2 zombies is really terrifying, and their abilities are something we have never seen before. Fortunately, they ran fast, otherwise we would have died. By the way, do you think all the zombies in this area were killed by the 2 of them? The calm young man spoke. "It's possible. Some brother said before that they saw a large number of zombies gathering here, but now they are all gone. It is very likely that they were killed by the 2 of them." The powerful young man sighed. "Fortunately, we are lucky. We thought we would be dead if we were sent here to gather information this time. Who would have thought that all the zombies here are gone? If it was the scale before, let alone gathering information, I'm afraid we would have been surrounded by the zombies before we even started." The yellow-haired young man interrupted at this time. "What a pity. The female zombie with the outstretched arm is swinging a hammer in her hand, and there is a gun next to the crab zombie. These 2 weapons don't look like ordinary stuff. It would be great if we could get them. By the way, Daffy, why didn't you go around to the gun first, take the gun away, and then kidnap the people?" The driver named Daffy responded without turning his head. "Gizzy, you are too greedy. You will die from this sooner or later. You dared to take a gun in that situation. With those big pincers, I'm afraid our car could be overturned with 1 pincer. If it weren't for my good driving skills, several of us would have died there." Gizzy felt a little embarrassed when he heard this, but it was difficult to refute, so he kicked him. "Do you know any information about the 2 female zombies?" He closed his eyes and responded, "Why should I tell you?" Gizzy immediately got angry. "Hey, I'm giving you face, right? Believe it or not, I'll beat you up now. I don't believe you won't tell me." He curled his lips in disdain and did not respond. He had not used the 1st level and 2nd level healing medicines for today. He would only feel pain for a while after being beaten, but he would not die. At this time, the calm young man said, "If you provide us with useful information, you can have a full meal tonight." He swallowed his saliva, his Adam's apple slid up and down, and then opened his eyes. "Really?" Gizzy said directly. "Is what our brother Wang said false? Speak quickly." He frowned slightly, as if he was organizing his words, and said after a while, "The two female zombies are together. When I saw them, they had already fought with several other zombies. The zombie with the hammer can extend his arms, and the crab zombie can spit bubbles, and can switch between zombies and crabs at will. Also, the two of them are much stronger than the three zombies, and they can completely beat each other." Brother Wang frowned, not knowing what he was thinking. Gizzy asked, "That's all?" He nodded. "That's all. I didn't notice them at first, but I was scared when I found them. Fortunately, they didn't care about a small shrimp like me, otherwise I would have died long ago. By the way, you just said that you would give me a full meal tonight. You can't break your promise." Gizzy smiled. "Sorry, the information you provided was too little, so there is no food." He reached out and grabbed Gizzy's trouser legs. "Didn't we agree on that just now? Why are you going back on your word now?" Gizzy pulled his legs out. "If you dirty my pants again, I'll punish you. I don't know how such a naive person like you can survive in this apocalypse until now. Don't you know that people are treacherous?" Ha ha ha. The other three people in the car also laughed. His face was full of surprise and disbelief, and finally he closed his eyes in pain. "Well, it's better to close your eyes, to concentrate on checking the scanner. It was too difficult to do two things at the same time just now. As for the information just now, they were all insignificant things. Except for Bubble, the other people saw it with their own eyes. As for the most important invisibility, he did not mention it. Moreover, with the strength of Wang Qiushui and the others, they could just crush these people directly, without considering those virtual ones. However, he did not see any living people along the way. There were only 3 or 2 zombies occasionally, but they were all ordinary zombies, and some were directly hit and killed by the driver. Chapter 214. The car drove for a while, and he found that red dots began to appear on the buildings on both sides of the road. These red dots were on the windowsills or rooftops, and they were motionless. Obviously, they were not zombies, but sentinels. Since those people took him into the car, the scanner showed red dots. Together with these on the roadside, it goes without saying that they should be from the same organization. At this time, the car suddenly stopped, and Brother Wang leaned out, waved his hand, and then said, "Okay." The driver then continued to start the car and move forward. It seems that the guards here are quite strict, but he was very curious. What is the use of such guards in front of high-level zombies? Not to mention level 2 zombies. Even if a level 1 zombie comes, it will be enough for them to drink a pot. If it is just to guard against survivors, it doesn't seem to be necessary. This is the end of the world. There are more zombies than people. Where do so many survivors come from? He shook his head, stopped thinking about it, continued to observe the scanner, and wrote down the positions of these people one by one. At the same time, he also observed the route of the car, because he could feel that the car was not moving in a straight line, but crooked, so the people in the car swayed with it. It seems that in addition to the sentries, there are traps on both sides of the road. If an uninformed outsider is caught in it, he may fall into the trap. Even if it is just the most common trap, once the car falls into it, there is no way to escape. If there are mines and other things buried in it, it will be even more exciting. Although he is not sure whether there are high-end goods such as mines here, it is better to be careful. After all, Wang Qiushui and the others' protective gear can't even stop bullets, let alone weapons of mass destruction such as mines. After driving slowly for a while, the car finally stopped. Gizzy kicked him lightly a few times. "Wake up, we are at the station, get up. You can move by yourself, don't need me to help you up." He opened his eyes and slowly climbed up. Wang Qiushui and the others had already got off the car, and he walked down under Gizzy's push. After getting off the car, he found that this was a large parking lot, full of all kinds of cars, even several military vehicles. However, most of these cars were broken and tattered, and there was a lot of black liquid on the body of the car, emitting bursts of bad smell. However, these people seemed to have been accustomed to it, and didn't care at all, and even chatted. Seeing Brother Wang and the others appear, a group of people who were chatting in the distance looked over, their eyes full of surprise. Then, a scoundrel young man walked over. "Hey, isn't this Brother Wang? How come you're back so soon? You didn't just pretend to be here and then slipped back." Brother Wang snorted coldly. "Is it your business?" Gizzy, who had been talking non-stop in the car, was silent at this time and even wanted to use his body to block himself. The strong young man clenched his fists. "Why, do you want to fight?" The young man sneered. "Left hand, don't think you are powerful just because you are strong. The truly powerful people use their brains. People like you are at most brave but not wise and can only help others all your life. Besides, fighting is so tiring and there is no benefit, so I'm too lazy to fight with you." Left hand took a step forward. "Who are you calling brainless?" Brother Wang stretched out his hand to stop left hand. "Anything else? If not, we will go back and report. By the way, I forgot to say that we not only collected intelligence this time, but also brought back a survivor. I wonder how much reward you will give us for the materials you have worked so hard to collect?" The young man's face suddenly showed resentment, but he didn't know how to refute. And looking at his fearful eyes, Brother Wang probably wouldn't be a good person. Then, Brother Wang walked to the side, and several people hurriedly followed. Gizzy pushed him forward from behind, and before leaving, he did not forget to look back and look at the young man with contempt. He followed Brother Wang and his men into a large house. The defense of this house was tight on the outside and loose on the inside. The guards were strict outside, but the fewer guards there were as you went inside. Moreover, the house was clean and luxuriously decorated. It was probably the house of a wealthy family before, and it was occupied by these people after the end of the world. However, as he walked along, he saw many women in revealing clothes working, such as mopping the floor and wiping windows. He shook his head. This was how the end of the world was. Not only did zombies eat people, but people also eat people. Thinking of this, he had already decided to kill the boss. Not only to save these suffering compatriots, but also to vent his anger. You know, he himself couldn't live such a luxurious life, and someone actually got there before him. How could this be? At this time, Gizzy pushed him from behind. "What are you looking at? You are so engrossed. Is this what you can see? These are the boss's women. If you look at them again, I'll dig your eyes out." Brother Wang and his men looked back and turned back, as if they were not surprised at all. The women who were working did not react at all, as if they were used to it. Then, they came to a room. 2 guards stood at the door, trying to stand straight, but their spirits were obviously not very good, and they were just for show. However, the 2 guards had a small pistol on their waists. He thought about it, and did not act rashly. He did not have any level 3 healing medicine now, nor any protective gear. If he was shot, he would really die. Moreover, it was still unknown whether the level 3 healing medicine could take effect at the moment of being shot. One of the guards reached out to stop them. "What are you doing?" Brother Wang said. "We have something to report to the boss." The guard replied coldly, "Wait, the boss is doing something in there." Brother Wang nodded and stood aside. Giz's eyes rolled around, and his eyes were lustful, as if he had thought of something. After a while, the indicator light on the door lit up, and the guard opened the door and said, "Go in." Brother Wang led them in, and then the door was closed again. As soon as he entered, he frowned, and saw a woman lying on the ground naked, with lifeless eyes and tears dripping from the corners of her eyes. At this time, he understood why Gizzy had reacted that way just now. Seeing several people coming in, the woman's eyes rolled, and then suddenly rushed up, and jumped directly from the window. Soon, a scream was heard from below, and it seemed that the woman was dead. Chapter 215 Fatty Boss. At this time, a fat man came out from the compartment next to him. He tightened his belt, then walked to the windowsill and looked out. Bah, I should have tied him up earlier. Another material was wasted. Then, the fat man sat back at his desk and pressed a button. Notify the kitchen to have an extra meal in the evening. The people present immediately showed joy on their faces, especially Gizzy, who swallowed several times. He was watching these people the whole time, and his murderous intent became stronger and stronger. He hesitated several times whether to take action, and even almost took out the knife of death. However, when he saw that the fat man's waist was bulging and there was a gun on the table, he gave up the idea. He could kill these people in a rage, but he might not be able to get out. And he is not alone now. He has his parents in his hometown, and the lives of Wang Qiushui and others are still in his hands. Without his subsequent support, it would be difficult for Wang Qiushui and others to survive, and they might repeat the mistakes of the girl just now. Since he had been keeping his head down, these people didn't notice anything unusual about him, and they didn't expect that their death was approaching. The fat man leaned back in his office chair, with his feet directly on the table, looking at the people in front of him. "Zio Wang, you came back so soon this time. How did you get the news?" When Brother Wang, who had been very steady and calm on the road, heard this, he immediately broke out in a cold sweat and said quickly, "Boss, all the zombies in that area have disappeared, leaving only a few scattered zombies, so we didn't spend much time on the road." The fat man leaned forward. "Oh, in that case, isn't that area very safe? A place where there are no zombies at all is very precious in this doomsday." Brother Wang waved his hand and said hesitantly, "It's not that there are no zombies at all. There are still several very powerful zombies over there, but now there should be only 2 left." The fat man slapped the table. "How many are there? Tell me clearly, don't just tell me half of it every time." Brother Wang's body instantly straightened and he replied, "Yes. It's like this. When we passed a basketball court, we saw 2 female zombies beating up 3 other zombies. It was estimated that the 3 zombies were dead. Moreover, the 2 female zombies could use weapons. One used a hammer, and the other had a spear beside her. The one with a spear could also turn into a crab-like creature, holding up 2 large claws, which was particularly terrifying." The fat man curled his lips in disdain. "I thought they were something big, just 2 powerful zombies. When I send the materials over this time and exchange them for a batch of heavy munitions, even the most powerful zombies will only become cannon fodder. By the way, who is this kid?" Brother Wang said in a flattering manner. "Boss is mighty. This kid, when we found him, he was lying on the ground, looking like he was about to die, and we fished him out. Because of this, we almost died in the hands of the 2 female zombies." The fat man nodded with satisfaction. "Take him to the material room and send him away together. Then, report to the logistics department and take whatever you want." When several people heard this, they couldn't help but smile and said in unison, "Thank you, boss." The fat man waved his hand and motioned for them to go out. Brother Wang walked in front and Gizzy pushed him to walk behind. At this time, the fat man suddenly said, "Your clothes seem to be very clean, and your physical condition is also very good. You are living a good life." Several people stopped and looked at him. He paused and replied without looking back, "I have stored a lot of food and drinks at home, so I have survived until now. Until yesterday, there was nothing left, so I took a shower, put on new clothes, and went out to find food. I had to die decently. As a result, I encountered those terrifying zombies and almost lost my life. Later, I was caught by you." The fat man frowned, then waved his hand impatiently. Several people continued to move forward, and Gizzy kicked him in anger. "You guy, you have a good life, but you didn't leave anything behind." He didn't say anything, but kept walking forward. From what he saw just now, the fat man had become suspicious of him. But there was no way. Time was too short. He had no time to disguise himself. Moreover, whether it was the clothes he wore, or the spirit of the whole person, they were directly exposed. The people in the end of the world were so hungry that they were exhausted and skinny, but he had bright eyes and steady and powerful steps. The contrast was too obvious. However, he guessed that the fat man should think that he was the only one, and could not make any waves. Or maybe the fat man was going to use him as bait to lure out the people behind him. If you think so, the fat man should have many enemies. Being pushed forward all the way, after knowing that he had nothing, and finding nothing on him when searching him, Giz's attitude towards him naturally became worse. Not long after, he was taken to a basement downstairs, and a strange stench came out of it. It was like a hodgepodge, with all kinds of smells, and after mixing together, it was hard to tell what the original smell was. Several people covered their mouths. Gizzy even spat, and then said, "It stinks. I really don't want to come here." There were also 2 people guarding the door, but they were far away from the basement. After seeing several people coming, they reluctantly came over, unlocked the basement door, and then walked away, leaving a sentence: "Remember to close the door. If someone escapes, the boss will blame us, and it will have nothing to do with us." Gizzy spat again, then looked at the other people, and silently pushed him in. The door was slowly pushed open, making a creaking sound. The smell inside became stronger the moment the door was opened, and floated out along the door, drilling straight into people's noses. There is a word to describe it, that is, it's heady. The door was half opened, and Gizzy couldn't stand it anymore. She pushed him in, and closed the door. At the end, she said, "The smell is getting worse and worse. It's really not a place for people to stay." After he went in, he took a look with the only light, and found that the material room was full of people, including adults, children, men, women, old people and young people. However, these people just looked at him silently without any movement, nor did they show any discomfort with the environment, as if they were already used to the smell inside. A small number of people squatted, because the ground was dirty, and most of them sat directly on the ground. Chapter 216 The Stinky Basement. He endured the discomfort, and squatted in a corner. Seeing these people's indifferent and unwilling appearance, he was too lazy to get information from them. He estimated that even if he asked, these people would not answer. From time to time, someone coughed, but no one would pay attention. Even the people next to them would stay away for fear of being infected. However, it is impossible not to get sick in such a dark and humid place for a long time. And when he stayed for a while, he knew where the unpleasant smell came from. There is no toilet here at all, not even a toilet, so people eat, drink, defecate and urinate on the spot. Of course, he didn't know whether the eating and drinking were here, but the latter two were definitely. Moreover, not only those people did not shy away, but even the people next to them looked accustomed to it. At the same time, the filth had been fermented here for a long time, and the smell was naturally irritating. It was no wonder that the guards and Giz's group were unwilling to come in. He wanted to exchange for a mask to block the smell, but he thought that doing so would be too high profile in this place. Moreover, he had just been searched and found nothing. If he suddenly took out a mask and was informed by these people, it would attract the attention of the fat man and cause unnecessary trouble to himself. Although informing was just his guess, and it was a malicious guess, but in such an environment, everything had to be done with caution, and not a single step could be wrong, otherwise it would really be doomed. Being in such an environment, he understood what it meant to live a day like a year. He even wondered if he would eventually die of poisoning due to inhaling a large amount of toxic gas. He had been enduring in pain, even his body was shaky, and he was about to faint from the fumes, when he suddenly sensed that Wang Qiushui had transformed. He hurriedly shouted, "Qiushui, come and save me." Wang Qiushui, who had just got on the bicycle, was stunned for a moment, then panicked, and hurriedly asked, "What's wrong with you? Tell me the route quickly, I'll go over to save you." Qiushui, who was next to him, saw Wang Qiushui's expression, and quickly carried Qiushui to the back seat, and then she also got on a bicycle, ready to set off at any time. He went on, "You go down first, and when you reach the intersection I will tell you which direction to go. Just follow my instructions." Wang Qiushui nodded, pedaled his bike down, and asked, "What's with that dying tone of yours just now? Why do you sound not in a hurry when I hear you say that now?" He replied weakly, "Who said I'm not in a hurry? I'm almost poisoned to death." Wang Qiushui was shocked. "Ah. Did they do any experiments on you, or did they feed you poison? Did you take the healing medicine? Was it effective?" He explained, "It's not what you think. It's another kind of poison." Then he told Wang Qiushui everything. After listening to this, Wang Qiushui burst into laughter. "Why didn't you just kill those guys this morning? Now you've fallen into a trap." He forced himself to respond, "You don't understand. I'm going deep into the tiger's den." Wang Qiushui continued, "Since you're okay, I'm relieved. I was so scared just now that I was ready to run over directly, but now it seems that there's no need to be so anxious." He said in a hurried tone, "What's not urgent? I'm really about to die of poisoning. Come and save me quickly." Wang Qiushui nodded. Okay, we are on our way. You wait a moment. He sighed, said nothing more, and silently gave Wang Qiushui directions. Fortunately, he had a scanner, otherwise, under the circumstances at the time, it would be impossible to know where the car was going. Moreover, Gizzy and the others didn't cover his eyes with a black cloth at the time, probably because they bullied him, because he couldn't see the buildings on both sides. Qiushui, who was standing by, saw Wang Qiushui smiling, and couldn't help asking, what's wrong with him? Wang Qiushui told him about being locked up in a dirty and smelly basement, and then the three of them laughed. He didn't tell Wang Qiushui about the girl, so as not to distract Wang Qiushui. In fact, he was more worried that Qiushui would not be able to control herself at that time. After all, with Qiushui's personality, she would definitely not be able to tolerate such a thing, and it would disrupt his plan at that time. It was already night, but no one brought food over, so his stomach naturally grumbled. The others looked at him and turned their heads away. They seemed to have gotten used to this kind of hungry days, so their stomachs no longer rumbled. He sighed. No wonder they were called materials. They were materials instead of people, so naturally they didn't need to eat. What's more, food in the end times is so precious that it is naturally impossible to supply everyone. However, thinking of the fat man's big belly, he silently added another reason for the fat man to die. It is not human to eat enough to fill your stomach while leaving your fellows hungry. At the same time, no one has been sent in since he came in for so long. It seems that it is difficult to find survivors, which can explain why Brother Wang was so confident at the time and even boasted about finding him to the frivolous young man. However, he was more curious about who the fat man was going to trade them with and to exchange them for arms. Arms are not something that everyone can get. If it was in the past, it would be absolutely impossible to get them. In the end times, it is not ruled out that someone looted the military camp or the arms warehouse, which can explain the origin of the military vehicles. However, if someone really looted the arms warehouse, it would be better to keep it for their own use, and there is no need to take it out to trade with others. After all, bullets don't have eyes, and the arms sold may cost you your life. What's more, he couldn't think of what ordinary people would do with so many survivors. It was meaningless. Therefore, the one who made the deal with the fat man was most likely the survivor base in the city center. Only that place would have such a sufficient supply of arms, and they were also taking in survivors, and through an organization like the fat man, it would obviously be quicker to take them in. But why did the survivor base take in so many survivors? It should not just be a simple lack of labor. Given the environment he was in now, it would be a blessing if he didn't die after a while, not to mention that he could work like a normal person. The survivor base obviously knew this, but still made deals with the fat man. Add to that the names and materials that the fat man called them, and everything became a bit intriguing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Walking out of the basement. Wang Qiushui and the others followed the road he pointed out, and it took them more than 20 minutes to arrive at the vicinity. And they didn't go deep at all, and were still a long way from where he was. However, at night, the zombies were not very active, and with Wang Qiushui, a level 3 zombie, keeping the place under control, there was no commotion. They stopped next to a house, and then Qiushui carried Qiushui, who had already fallen asleep in the back seat, down. Wang Qiushui carried the two of them to the rooftop, and then used the soul-breaking sword to cut open the door on the rooftop and walked in. In this way, Qiushui would be safe, and there would be no need to worry about zombies or living people coming. Qiushui had just put her sister on the bed. Qiushui, who had been sleeping soundly, suddenly woke up, grabbed her sister's clothes, and asked sleepily, "Sister, where am I?" Qiushui replied, "We are in someone else's house. You have a good sleep here, and sister will come back to pick you up later." Qiushui woke up instantly, her eyes wide open. "Are you going to save that bad guy?" Qiushui nodded. Qiushui's hand immediately loosened. Then you go quickly. I will stay here and wait for you to come back. Qiushui smiled with relief and gently stroked her sister's head. Sister is so good. Then you sleep here for a while and sister will be back when you wake up. Qiushui nodded and closed her eyes. Qiushui covered her sister with a quilt, then walked out and fell to the ground with Wang Qiushui on the roof. In order not to make any noise, the two did not ride over. After Qiushui transformed, she directly put her arm around Wang Qiushui's shoulder, and the two of them became invisible together, and then ran forward quickly. Because she had the ability to be invisible, she did not make any noise, and even the sentinels did not know they were coming. Not long after, Wang Qiushui and the others finally arrived at the place where they parked in the morning. He quickly called Wang Qiushui to stop. Wait. Next, you two don't walk side by side. Walk forward and backward and follow my instructions for every step. Wang Qiushui asked curiously, is it necessary? It sounds troublesome. He did not explain, but just said, look down and take a closer look at the ground in front of you. Hearing this, Wang Qiushui and Qiushui squatted down together to observe. After a while, Qiushui said, the ground here is a bit bumpy, and it looks like it has been renovated. Wang Qiushui nodded in agreement. In fact, he was just guessing in the morning, until he saw Wang Qiushui's eyes. He finally confirmed that there was indeed a trap buried on the road. He went on to say, it's because you have good eyes that you can see so clearly in the middle of the night. If it were an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to notice such details even in the daytime, let alone at night. Wang Qiushui asked curiously, what do you think is buried underneath? He said, it could be a mine, or some other weapon of mass destruction. In short, it's definitely not used against people, but against cars. Wang Qiushui asked, how can you be so sure? He explained, do you remember the driver who drove this morning? They said at the time that the driver was a very good driver. So, the traps here must be set up to deal with cars. Only a driver with good driving skills can remember this crooked road to prevent the trap from being touched by accident. If it was simply to deal with people, they only needed to set a trap in a certain place, and there was no need to make it so complicated. What's more, they also set up various sentries on the buildings on both sides. It's unlikely to encounter a single person sneak attack, but it's more likely to encounter a car driving straight in. Wang Qiushui nodded. Okay, then, let's do as you say. Then, the two of them walked forward little by little under his instructions. It must be said that the traps were buried in a really scattered manner, with no pattern at all. If he had not in advance inferred the traces of the wheels through the locations of several people, there would be no way to determine where it was safe. However, although walking like this was safe, the speed was extremely slow. So, after walking for a while, Wang Qiushui suggested, why don't I just stretch my arms and shuttle between the buildings? That will be faster, and it is better than walking slowly like this. He shook his head with the fat man's cautiousness. Even this road is full of traps. Do you think he would miss such an important link in the air? I think he must have installed various traps in the air, and at the very least, it is an alarm measure. At that time, it will alert the enemy. Wang Qiushui sighed. Okay, then we can only walk slowly. After walking this difficult section of the road, Wang Qiushui and the others finally arrived at the parking lot. Then, they followed his instructions and went directly to the basement. However, due to his previous reminder, Wang Qiushui and the others put on masks early in the morning. With two bangs, the guard at the door was shot in the head by Wang Qiushui. Qiushui frowned, but didn't say much. She knew early on that this time he was here to kill people, but when she really saw this scene, she was still a little uncomfortable. Then, Wang Qiushui took out the soul-breaking knife and cut open the door of the basement. It's not that there is no key, but the key is not as convenient as a knife. He was well prepared and opened the door and walked out, frowning and saying, finally I can come out. It stinks. If you come later, I will really faint. The people in the basement only saw the door suddenly opened, and he was talking to the air, and they were all shocked. Qiushui looked at the people in the basement and the terrible environment, and frowned even more. She didn't expect that someone would treat their compatriots like this, which was completely worse than a pig in a pen. Then, he took a step forward and prepared to leave this stinking basement. At this time, a young man stood up and said, "Don't leave." He turned around and scratched his ears. "What did you say?" The young man repeated, "Don't leave. If you leave, you will implicate us, and we will all die. If you dare to step out of this door, I will shout, and someone will come soon." He nodded, then walked back, and walked towards the young man step by step. The young man looked at him approaching step by step, a little scared, but still said firmly, "Don't come over, I'm not afraid of you." He suddenly smiled and waved his hand gently. A flash of cold light flashed, and the next second the head fell to the ground, and blood gushed out, sprinkling on the people around him. Chapter 218, Killing the Chicken to Frighten the Monkey. The young man's head fell to the ground with disbelief in his eyes. He never understood until his death how he was beheaded when the two sides were still a long distance apart. He put away the knife in his hand, and looked at the other people in the basement with interest. "Anyone else wants to inform?" Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. He walked out and stopped at the door. "I can't stay here anymore. If you want to leave, you can take this opportunity. Also, if you dare to make any move to inform, I don't mind coming back and killing you all." After saying that, he walked away. Just after taking 2 steps, he looked up and saw a camera facing the door of the basement. The red indicator light on it was flashing. He waved at the camera and said to Wang Qiushui, "Tear it down." Wang Qiushui stretched out his arm and swung the hammer of the earth to smash the camera into pieces. He sighed, "I forgot that this is an era where cameras are placed everywhere. I haven't seen them for too long after the apocalypse, and I actually failed here." Wang Qiushui asked, "Doesn't that mean that we have been exposed?" He nodded. "The other party should have guessed that in addition to me, there is another person who can be invisible. But they certainly can't guess that there are not 1, but 2 people who are invisible. They can't guess that the 2 invisible people are not people, but zombies. Of course, even if they know you are invisible, they still can't know where you are, so it's not a big problem." Wang Qiushui smiled. "Then there is no problem. Let's keep going and settle accounts with their boss." At this time, Qiushui suddenly stopped and looked at him. "Why did you kill that man just now?" He sneered. "Do you have a better solution?" Qiushui hesitated. "We can knock him out, tie him up, and then gag him. In this way, there is no need to kill people. Besides, he was also caught in there, and he is also a victim, not those bad guys." Wang Qiushui was speechless. "I knew it would be like this." He shook his head. "Remember, there are only 2 kinds of people in the world, those who will harm us, and those who won't. As for those victims you mentioned, they have nothing to do with us. I only know that when I was about to walk out of the basement, he wanted to shout and tell on me, and this alone is enough reason for me to kill him." Qiushui shook her head slightly. "It shouldn't be like this." He continued, "Do you know? The bad guys here have guns. Once we lure them over, do you think the level 3 armor can block the bullets? By then, not only me, but both of you will have to die here." Qiushui's eyes wavered a little. He further explained, "This kind of person is like this. Even if you open the door and let him escape together, he has no courage. And when you want to leave, he will hold you back, because he can't bear to see you run away, but he can only suffer inside. Besides, I killed him, just to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. You don't think that the remaining ones are all good people? They have been watching. If I don't take thundering measures, they will definitely tell on us after we leave." Qiushui didn't want to believe this. "No." He laughed. "No. When the young man died, they didn't dare to make a sound. The door was opened directly and let them go. Did one of them follow them out? They have already accepted their fate. It is normal for them to betray me in order to survive. If I hadn't shocked them with that move just now, they would have told on me long ago." Qiushui's body was shocked. She felt that what he said made sense and could not be refuted at all, but she didn't want to believe that those people would do this in her heart. So, the whole person fell into a contradiction. Wang Qiushui put his arm around her shoulders and walked forward. "Let's go first. You will figure it out slowly in the future. The most important thing now is to deal with the people here. If we are really blocked later, we will be finished." He did not follow immediately, but said, "You lead the way in front and dismantle those cameras. In this way, you can not only gather intelligence, but also set up an ambush and kill them by surprise. I will catch up later, and they will definitely think that the invisible man is still with me." Wang Qiushui nodded and walked forward with Qiushui. He waited for a while before walking slowly. In the afternoon, he was not idle. He kept turning on the scanner to observe the movements of people in the house. It must be said that the fat man was really cautious. He even set up a lot of traps in the house. Although he was not sure that it was a trap, judging from the fixed patrol routes of those people, it should be correct. Wang Qiushui and the others walked forward step by step according to his instructions, and at the same time, dismantled all the cameras on the road. However, he also saw from the scanner that someone came down from upstairs, and it seemed that their reaction speed was quite fast. Wang Qiushui laughed after learning about it. "Let them come, but I don't know, when they find their companions falling one by one, but can't see us, will they think it's a ghost?" He shook his head. "You'd better be careful. We don't know how much ammunition there is here. It would be bad if they come to shoot randomly or something." Wang Qiushui responded, "Okay, I'll pay attention." At this time, footsteps sounded in the distance. Wang Qiushui and Qiushui stood together against the wall. "Let these people go first, and then kill them from behind by surprise." Qiushui tightened the Dragon Slayer spear in her hand after hearing this. Although she said before that she would not hold back, she was still very nervous when she really had to do it herself. Wang Qiushui glanced at Qiushui and then said, "Why don't you close your eyes later, and I'll do it." Qiushui thought about it and finally nodded. The group of people who rushed over were holding various weapons in their hands, most of which were kitchen knives and the like, and no guns were seen. Wang Qiushui asked, "These people's weapons are so simple, it doesn't look like they have guns. Are you suspicious?" He shook his head. "It's not me who is suspicious, it's the fat man. It seems that even at this time, he is unwilling to take out the gun for his men to use, probably because he is afraid of being retaliated by his men." Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth tightly and prepared to take action. At this time, he shouted, "Leave these people to me." You continue to move forward. Wang Qiushui was stunned for a moment. Can you do it?" He replied, "Of course." Chapter 219 Crazy Killing. Wang Qiushui nodded and whispered to Qiushui, "Let's go." Qiushui had closed her eyes, waiting for Wang Qiushui to end the killing, but suddenly heard this and opened her eyes quickly. "What's wrong?" Wang Qiushui waved his hand. He said he would take care of these people. "Let us go first." Qiushui was stunned for a moment. There were quite a lot of people just now. Can he do it? And he doesn't have any protective gear. Wang Qiushui shook his head. "I don't know, but I choose to believe him." The two walked forward for a while and stopped at a corner because he was busy fighting those people and had no time to show them the way. On the other side, after he finished chatting with Wang Qiushui, he stood in the same place. In fact, the place where he stood was not far from the basement. He could even feel the prying eyes coming from the basement. Presumably, those people were squatting near the door, watching him carefully. If he won, those people might run away with him. If he lost, those people would obediently return to the basement, even consciously close the door and clear themselves of everything. He had no opinion on those people. After all, it was better to live a miserable life than to die. It was a very difficult thing to survive in this world. At this time, the footsteps in the distance were getting closer and closer, and a group of people rushed towards him with weapons such as kitchen knives and wooden sticks. He smiled self-deprecatingly. "It's really not easy to live. So sometimes I really don't understand why these people come here to die." However, those people were also very cautious. They stopped when they were still some distance away from him, and then a small number of them stood up. These people were holding wooden sticks, but there was a sharp knife tied to the top of the wooden sticks, which was a simplified version of a spear. Then, those people looked at each other, reluctantly stepped forward together, and the sharp knife on the wooden stick stabbed him. He sneered, lowered his body, and dodged the stab. At the same time, he waved his hand lightly, and a cold light flashed. There was a clang sound, and the sticks were all cut off, and the parts with sharp knives fell to the ground. Those people were so scared that they all took a step back. They didn't even see what weapon the other party was holding. Moreover, they couldn't be opponents with such a sharp weapon. If they really fought, their fate would probably be no different from that stick. At this time, a person standing behind the crowd shouted, "Don't retreat, all of you come at me. You know what the boss is like. If we can't deal with this person today, we will all die. Not only us, but also our families. Moreover, you know what will happen after we die. But I heard that the boss has changed his taste recently. He doesn't like to eat cooked food, but eats sashimi instead." Those people seemed to remember something terrible, and their bodies shook, and finally they rushed towards him, shouting and risking their lives. The weapons in their hands were directly aimed at him, as if they would stab him even if they died. He frowned, not because he was unhappy with these people, but because the boss's words that he had just said made him feel uncomfortable. He remembered that, when the girl jumped off the building, the fat man asked the kitchen to add more food. It seems that this kind of thing happens frequently, so it has a great deterrent effect on these people. However, Gizzy and the others were very happy when they heard it. So, how many of these people are clean? Maybe they are all participants, but they will feel scared when the knife hits them. His eyes began to become cold, and his right hand kept waving. Those hands holding knives to chop at him were cut off and fell to the ground before they could hit him. The owner of the hand was still wailing while holding the severed hand, and the next second there was no sound, and the headless body fell to the ground with a bang. His eyes gradually lost focus, and the people standing in front of him were not people, but targets, and all he had to do was to chop down all these targets. His movements became simpler and simpler, but every time he waved his arm, a life would be lost. He kept saying, "It's God's business to forgive them, and what I have to do is to send them to see God." At the beginning, those people still had the courage to fight him under pressure. But as he killed more and more people, his clothes were stained redder and redder by blood. Those people retreated step by step, as if they had seen a ghost, unwilling to go forward. At this time, the man just now chopped down a retreating person with a knife. Come on, whoever dares to retreat will end up like this. Besides, he must have been injured, so there is so much blood on his body. As long as you work harder, you will definitely kill him. The people standing in the front row naturally knew whose blood this was, but they didn't dare to retreat. If they retreated, they would definitely die, and if they went forward, they would have a high probability of dying. As long as they could kill the other party, they would not have to die. So, they gritted their teeth and rushed forward again. Then, it was another one-sided killing. He seemed to have turned into the most accurate killing machine, constantly harvesting the lives of these people. And the man who spoke took advantage of these people blocking Wending and actually slipped away quietly. Wang Qiushui and the other person were waiting at the corner board. They could vaguely hear the sound of fighting coming from the basement, but since they hadn't received any news from him, it shouldn't be a big problem. At this time, they suddenly saw a man tiptoeing out from the basement. It looked like one of the people who had just passed by. So, Wang Qiushui swung the hammer of the earth and smashed it on the man's leg. With a crack, the man's leg broke and fell on his leg. He hugged his legs and wailed, looking around but seeing no one. "Uncle Ghost, don't kill me. Every grievance has its perpetrator. Everything I did was ordered by the boss. If you have any grudges, go find him to take revenge. It's none of my business." Wang Qiushui asked directly, "Didn't you go to the basement just now? Why did you sneak out again? What happened in there?" The man looked in horror in the direction of the sound, but found that it was still empty. He was even more scared and answered directly, "The man in there is crazy. There are so many of us that he can't kill. So I saw that the situation was not right, so I hurried out." Wang Qiushui nodded, and then said to Qiushui, "Close your eyes." Qiushui closed her eyes after hearing that. The man asked curiously, "Close your eyes?" The next second, his head exploded. Chapter 220, Obsessed. After Wang Qiushui blew the man's head off with a hammer, he hurriedly pulled Qiushui back along the original path. For some reason, she always felt a little uneasy, as if something had happened to him. The two quickly returned to the original place. Qiushui saw the bloody scene in front of her and stood there in a daze. Wang Qiushui walked slowly towards him. His eyes were dull, and his arms were waving subconsciously, as if he had muscle memory, and he was still muttering, "Forgiving them is God's business, and what I have to do is to send them to see God." In front of him, a man was lying on the ground, begging for mercy, and groping back. The next second, the knife of death and life passed, and the last person died. Blood sprayed on his body, completely dyeing his clothes red. On the ground, there were all kinds of broken limbs and fragments, and on the wall, there were sprayed blood stains, like blooming blood flowers, weird but enchanting. Some had already dried up, so the red blood flowers turned black. And he stood in the center of the scene, like a monster crawling out of a sea of blood and corpses. Wang Qiushui walked up to him and asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" His eyeballs moved for a second, and the next second he swung his knife directly at Wang Qiushui. With a dang sound, the deadly knife was blocked by Wang Qiushui's dark skirt, and did not hurt her. Qiushui, who was far away, was completely stunned by this scene, which was much more shocking than the killing scene she had seen before. She even suspected that Wending was controlled by something. He waved his arms again, and prepared to chop again, but was caught by Wang Qiushui. Then, Wang Qiushui hugged his face. "Don't you recognize me?" His brows were furrowed, and his eyes gradually began to focus, and finally fixed on her face. "Qiushui, why are you here?" Wang Qiushui was relieved immediately. "If I don't come, I don't know what will happen." "What happened to you just now?" He thought about it. "Nothing. I was just killing people, right? Look." He pointed around. However, when he saw the surrounding scene, he was stunned. "What's going on?" At this time, Qiushui also came over. "Do you remember what happened just now? Were you controlled by something? When we came over, your aura was so terrible, and you just attacked Qiushui." He quickly looked at Wang Qiushui. "Are you okay? I didn't hurt you?" Wang Qiushui shook her head repeatedly. "But you, what happened just now?" He thought about it for a while before saying, "Maybe I was too murderous just now, so I went crazy." Wang Qiushui was surprised. "Why did you go crazy for no reason? Did you kill too many people and exceed your psychological tolerance?" He nodded. "Probably." As for the specific cause, he didn't want to say. If possible, he didn't like them to see the evil side of these people, so he should bear these things. He looked at the bodies on the ground again, and finally said, "Why does it seem like one is missing?" Wang Qiushui replied, "One wanted to run away, but we took care of him. We heard what he said, so we came to see what was going on." Qiushui suppressed her nausea and urged, "Why don't we leave here first?" He nodded and walked forward. Wang Qiushui and Qiushui hid themselves again in the basement behind. Those people didn't dare to make a sound, and didn't even dare to breathe, until they saw his back disappear, and they breathed a sigh of relief. They had never seen such a terrible person, and they could be described as a murderer. They walked all the way to the corner where Wang Qiushui and the others were before, and there were already many people waiting there. These people were all dressed in bright clothes, and they were holding weapons such as long knives and swords in their hands, which were far from the kitchen knives and wooden sticks of those people just now. They should have found them from the homes of some collectors. And Wang Jie's group and the scoundrel young man in the morning were also among them. It seemed that these people were all quite powerful, so they were arranged here. The young man looked at him covered in blood, then looked at Brother Wang. "You brought this man back, so you should be the ones to deal with it." Brother Wang snorted coldly, "We will naturally deal with it. No need for you to say anything." The young man and his people took a step back. "Then we will watch your good show here. I hope you don't let us down." Brother Wang took a step forward, but was stopped by Zuo Shao. "Let me do it." After saying that, he took out a syringe and stabbed his left hand. The next second Zuo Shao's entire arm actually began to zombie, directly became a circle larger, and looked more powerful. Brother Wang sighed, "Be careful." Zuo Shao nodded and walked towards him. The young man also put away his mentality of watching the show, and watched it seriously. After all, this zombie arm was the origin of Zuo Shao's name, but he didn't expect Zuo Shao to use a big move directly. He and Wang Qiushui were confused, mainly because the way this syringe transformed was a little familiar. In order not to expose his existence, Wang Qiushui asked directly in his mind, "How can they have this thing?" At the same time, Qiushui also looked at him. Although she did not speak, the questioning meaning in her eyes was very obvious. He shook his head. I don't know, but his needle must be a low quality product. Wang Qiushui asked curiously, why? He replied, look, he stabbed himself with an injection, but only his hand turned into a zombie. Isn't this a low quality product? Wang Qiushui almost laughed out loud when he heard this answer, and then said, you were in a terrible state just now. Why don't you let me deal with these people? He shook his head. No, it was just an accident just now, and it won't happen next time. Besides, it's better for you to play the backhand. It's easy to be targeted if you are exposed too early. Wang Qiushui nodded. Let me make a deal first. If you are in danger, I will definitely take action. He smiled. Okay. Just at this moment, the left hand came in front of him and swung a punch, hitting him in the face. Since he hadn't moved, since he saw his left arm turned into a zombie, people thought he had never seen such a scene before and was scared silly. And he obviously couldn't dodge this blow. Just as the fist was about to hit his face, his arm suddenly swung. A flash of cold light passed by, and the huge fist, which was only 1 centimeter away from his face, suddenly fell to the ground with his arm, and the cut surface was particularly smooth. Chapter 221, Poor Quality Transformation Needle. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect such a result. Wang Qiushui and the other two looked as if it was natural. Of course, no one could see them. Zuo Xiao was stunned for a second, then quickly stepped back. After taking several steps back, he looked at him fiercely. What kind of weapon is that? He smiled. When I chop off your head, you will know. Brother Wang stepped forward and grabbed Zuo Xiao. You are not his opponent. Let me do it. Zuo Xiao shook his head. No, I have never suffered such a big loss. I must get it back. After saying that, he roared, and the flesh and blood on his body began to extend to the broken part of his left arm. Soon, a new zombie arm grew out. Seeing this, Brother Wang let go. He was interested. I didn't expect it to have the ability to regenerate. It's interesting. Zuo Xiao rushed forward directly. When he was at a certain distance, he jumped up on the spot and aimed his fist as big as a clay pot at him. He smiled, stretched out his hand, and waved it in front of him, then stepped back. Zuo Xiao was stunned for a moment, not understanding what was happening. Then he leaned forward to catch up with him, but suddenly heard a cry from behind. Looking back, he found that his upper and lower body had been separated. He looked at the upper body of Zuo Xiao that fell in front of him. Come on, show me what you did just now, and see if you can grow your lower body as well. Zuo Xiao looked at him, opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word in the end. He looked across again. Who's next? The group of people across the street were silent, and even Brother Wang quietly took a step back. He pointed at Gizzy. Didn't you say this morning that you were going to deal with me? Come on, I'll give you this chance. Gizzy didn't expect that he would be named, and he was so anxious that he was about to cry and looked at Brother Wang for help. Brother Wang glanced at Gizzy and suddenly said, since he has called your name, then you go ahead. Gizzy said, no, Brother Wang, are you asking me to die? How about this? Can I give you everything I have? From now on, all the rewards will be given to you. Just don't let me out. Brother Wang didn't say anything, but secretly winked at the driver Daffy. Daffy understood and kicked Gizzy and kicked him out. Are you trying to escape? Gizzy looked back and saw that no one wanted to help him, so he walked towards Wending with a trembling knife in his hand. He looked at Gizzy and didn't rush to take action, but asked, why don't you transform? Gizzy said and then replied with an embarrassed look, my rewards are not enough to exchange for the transformation needle. He nodded. Then you are useless. Gizzy was stunned for a moment when he heard this and turned around to escape, but found that his limbs suddenly lost consciousness. By the time he came to his senses, he was already lying on the ground. His hands and feet were cut off, but he couldn't die. So, he wailed in pain. He walked to Gizzy's side and said, this is return to you. If you hadn't kicked me so many times, I could have let you die more quickly. The group of people on the opposite side couldn't help swallowing their saliva, and Brother Wang said, this guy's too powerful. Let's all go together, otherwise we won't be able to report to the boss. Everyone looked at each other, but no one answered. the scoundrel young man said directly. You brought this disaster back. You just said you would take care of it. Now you want to drag us to die together? Anyway, you guys go. I will definitely not go. The others nodded when they heard it. Brother Wang was anxious and said directly, you are passive in fighting. Aren't you afraid that the boss will blame you? The young man snorted coldly, wait until you die, then we will naturally come. Or, if you are lucky and kill the other party, then there is no need for us to take action, and the boss will not blame us at that time. Others echoed, yes. Brother Wang had no choice but to take out a syringe, but the color of the solution in his syringe was much darker than the one in his left hand just now. When he finished the injection, his eyes turned red directly, as if the whole person had become a zombie, but it felt a little wrong. The driver Daffy standing next to Brother Wang swallowed his saliva and silently moved away from Brother Wang. The group of people behind also retreated at the same time. Wang Qiushui frowned, looking at this momentum. It seems that it is almost reaching the level 1 zombie, but it seems to be a little short. Can you handle it alone? He nodded. Don't say it hasn't reached it. Even if it is a level 1 zombie, I can have no problem. At this time, Brother Wang made a move that no one expected. He actually held the knife in his hand and cut the driver Daffy beside him in half, then licked the blood on the blade. It's so sweet. The people behind him quickly retreated a long distance, and the young man shouted, everyone be careful, he may be out of control, and may turn his gun against us at any time. He shook his head, the side effects of your injection are quite serious. Brother Wang looked directly at him, and disappeared in the next second. When he reappeared, he was already in front of him, with the long knife in his hand about to chop him in half. He didn't even dodge, but just waved his hands lightly twice. With a dang, the long knife broke into 2 pieces and fell to the ground, and with a plop, Brother Wang's headless body also fell to the ground. Those people were stunned. Brother Wang was the strongest among so many people present, and he was finished like this. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. It was the young man who stood up again. Let's go together and hack him to death. Anyway, if we can't complete the task, we won't survive. Now we can take advantage of the fact that there are more people and fight. After saying that, he also took out a syringe and stabbed himself. Then his upper body began to turn into a zombie, and sharp claws grew on his hands. The others thought about it, and it seemed to be true. Those who had needles got them, and those who didn't stayed away from the zombies, to avoid ending up like the driver Daffy. Then, they rushed towards Wending together, ready to fight to the death. Wang Qiushui asked, how is it? Do you want help? He nodded. Of course, these things that are neither human nor zombie, I don't know if they will turn into zombies if they scratch them. Anyway, I don't want to try. Besides, there are people coming up. We must make a quick decision. Wang Qiushui replied, okay. Then, while all those people were rushing towards him, he secretly attacked from behind. Qiushui also followed suit, but did not kill him. Chapter 222, Gun Squad. When those people found out that there was a pair of invisible hands attacking them, it was too late. Under their front and back attacks, those people fell down one after another like leeks being cut. They didn't find out where Wang Qiushui and the others were hiding until they died. In the end, he directly finished off those who were not dead yet, all of whom were knocked down by Qiushui. And in the hands of him and Wang Qiushui, there would naturally be no survivors. Qiushui didn't say much about this. He said, you go to the front and see what's going on. I'll search to see if they still have the transformation needles like the ones just now. By the way, you have to be careful. These people are very strong, and they are usually responsible for collecting resources. Even so, they are not the last batch. So I suspect that the newcomers are likely to have weapons such as firearms. Wang Qiushui nodded and walked out with Qiushui. Not long after they walked out, they saw several smoke bombs suddenly thrown from the front. Soon, a thick white smoke came out of the smoke bombs and spread along the passage, and soon the passage was almost invisible. Moreover, the smoke bomb seemed to have some irritating gases added to it, which made the two of them cry. Fortunately, they were wearing masks to cover their eyes, otherwise the cough alone would be enough to expose their positions. However, they still stepped back, trying to stay away from the coverage of the smoke bomb. Then, a team of more than a dozen people came from a distance, holding infrared guns in their hands. They were wearing protective clothing, infrared heat source night vision goggles on their heads, and wearing gas masks. In other words, the zombies have good eyesight, so they can see each other in this white smoke. Wang Qiushui asked directly, "Do you think zombies have temperature? Can they see us?" He shook his head. "I haven't really thought about this question, but zombies are all dead people, so they should have no temperature. Otherwise, when can we try it?" Wang Qiushui's cheeks flushed slightly, and she spit at him. "It's already this time, and you are still thinking about this? What about these people? They all have guns in their hands." He laughed. "They have guns, and you are level 3 zombies. Can't you just release some breath to shock them? At that time, won't they be at your mercy?" Wang Qiushui suddenly realized, "I'm used to fighting hard, and I almost forgot this. Then let me deal with them." After that, the breath on her body was no longer restrained, and it was instantly released. I saw a gust of cold wind blowing through the passage, and the people in the team stopped one after another, and their bodies couldn't stop shaking, and they were the kind that were completely out of their control. The last person walking at the end whispered, "Captain, why don't we retreat first? There seem to be some powerful zombies in here. We are only here to protect the fat man, not to work for him. There is no need to sacrifice all of us." The captain thought for a moment, made a retreat gesture, and the group turned around and wanted to leave. Wang Qiushui snorted coldly. He was not very skilled at using it for the first time. Seeing that those people could still move, he increased the output of his breath. The group felt as if there was a heavy burden on their bodies. Soon, they could not hold on and knelt on the ground with a pop. Some people could not stand the psychological pressure and burst into tears. The captain cursed, "We are not dead yet, why are you crying?" The man choked and said, "This zombie is so powerful, we are dead." The captain was furious. He turned around with difficulty, pointed the muzzle of the gun at the passage, and pulled the trigger directly. "Come on. I'm not afraid of you." Da-da-da-da, a series of bullets hit the wall, leaving holes, and the wall and rubble were flying everywhere. Wang Qiushui didn't expect that the other party could still move, so he increased the output of his breath again. This time, those people were completely lying on the ground, and it was difficult for them to even move a finger. Wang Qiushui breathed a sigh of relief. "Fortunately, I didn't rush over just now, otherwise I would have been beaten into a sieve." Just at this time, he also came over and waved his hand to disperse the white smoke in front of him. "What's the matter?" Wang Qiushui replied, "They have been suppressed by my breath. By the way, have you found anything?" He shook his head. "Those people have nothing on them, and it is estimated that the transformation needle is not easy to get, so what they used just now should be all they have." Wang Qiushui said disappointedly, "Then there is no way to know the source of those counterfeit versions?" He smiled. "Not necessarily. I think the fat man upstairs should still have a lot of stock, and these inferior transformation needles should also be rewards for these people, and the good ones are kept for his own use." Wang Qiushui nodded. "Then let's go and settle the account with the fat man now." Then the three of them walked out along the passage. As the smoke bombs became ineffective, the clarity of the passage became higher and higher. Soon, they came to the side of the team. The team also saw him, with surprise and doubt in their eyes. They all knew that this incident was caused by a human, but they were obviously suppressed by high-level zombies. So, the captain asked with difficulty, "Are you a human or a zombie?" He touched his chin. "Guess." The captain suddenly said, "You don't have the breath of a zombie, so you should have a very powerful zombie companion. In fact, we are sent by the official, and the things here have nothing to do with us. As long as you go back with us, and let your companions assist us in research, we will definitely give you the best treatment." He didn't expect the other party to guess it so quickly, but from the other party's words, he was also sure that those transformation needles were indeed made by the official, and they could also turn people into zombies. However, they obviously haven't mastered the secret of upgrading, or it is possible that their strength is not enough, so they can't upgrade quickly. So that when the captain guessed that there was a high-level zombie around him, he wanted to trick him back to help with the research. Although he didn't know whether what the other party said was true or false, he didn't want Wang Qiushui and Qiu Zilan to be observed like monkeys. They might even be sliced into pieces. However, he still asked, "What official do you mean?" The captain hesitated for a moment, and as if to win his trust, he answered directly, "We are sent by the survivor base in the city center. We are responsible for accepting survivors to the base. There is strong firepower support there, and it is safer." He nodded. The captain then added, "If you don't believe it, someone will come to pick up the survivors tomorrow, and you will understand then." Chapter 223, Duty. Wang Qiushui was not interested in the news, so he didn't care at all. Qiushui, who was standing by, was shocked. She didn't expect the official survivor base to be like this. She thought of the people who were locked up in the basement. Could this be what the official meant by taking in survivors? The captain looked at him expectantly. "Can you let us go now?" He shook his head. "One last question. Do the people in the survivor base know what you and the fat guy did?" The captain hesitated, as if he didn't know how to answer. He stood up. "Okay, I understand." The captain roared, "You actually want to go against us? You will regret your decision today. You can't beat us." He shook his head. "That's a matter for the future, but even if I regret it, you won't see that day." Hearing his words, there was a timid cry. "I don't want to die. I'm still so young. I shouldn't have come to do this mission earlier. It's so good and safe to stay in the base." The captain paused and roared again, "What have we done wrong? We are just following orders from above. Why are you looking for trouble with us? If you have the guts, go and settle accounts with them." He chuckled. "You people, you knew what the fat man did, but you didn't stop it. The fact that you aided and abetted the evil is enough to kill you. What's more, you still want to kill us, so it's reasonable for you to die in our hands. As for them, we will settle accounts with them sooner or later. You can just watch in hell." The captain was furious and shouted directly, "You are a lunatic. You are a lunatic. You actually want to go against our base with such brazenness. You are a lunatic." He was just about to take action when suddenly a bang was heard in the distance, and then he saw that section of the passage was blocked by rubble. The captain laughed. "The passage is blocked, and you can't get out now. Let's wait for death together." He shook his head. "Are you so sure that we will die?" The captain was completely desperate. "The passage has been blocked. I estimate that there are already many people waiting at the entrance of the passage with guns. Maybe there are mines buried. Even if you can get out, you will die. Even if you don't go out, your friend has been transformed into a high-level zombie for so long, and is still holding on. He must have burned his vitality. When your friend can't hold on and ends the transformation, it will be your death." He laughed. "You said so much. Aren't you afraid that I will drag you down with me?" The captain gritted his teeth and said, "It's already this time. Is there any point in saying all this? In fact, you didn't plan to let us go from the beginning. But I don't understand why you must kill us. Although we did think about killing you, we didn't really do it after all. We can compensate you in other ways. Everything can be discussed." Others also echoed, "Yes, as long as you can let us go, we will agree to whatever you want." He shook his head and sneered, "I don't want anything but your lives. As for the reason, it's actually very simple. You seem to have forgotten your duty. In this case, there is no need for you to live." The captain snorted coldly, "I only know that we just have to obey orders, so we haven't done anything wrong." He sighed. "Obeying orders is not an excuse for you, and you all worked for that fat man, so you must have received a lot of benefits. So, don't pretend to be righteous. By the way, didn't you say we can't get out? I'll let you see with your own eyes how we get out." Qiushui had been listening to the conversation between the two. At this time, her heart was even more complicated, and she felt even worse about the survivors' base. Wang Qiushui, who was standing by, asked quietly in his mind, "Have you thought of a solution? Are we going to rush out directly?" He laughed. "You are swinging a hammer. Do you really think you are a demolition worker? Besides, the passage is blocked, and we can't get out without driving an excavator." Wang Qiushui then asked, "Then what do you say we should do?" "There is no way out. I can't think of any other way, except to get out of the passage." He pointed to the ceiling. Wang Qiushui looked, as if he had suddenly realized something, but then he asked, "But, didn't you say that there are traps on the floor? What if we encounter landmines when we go out? Isn't it game over?" He took out several transformation needles, So, we need someone to help us explore the way. Wang Qiushui smiled. Why do I feel that you are getting worse and worse, but I like it? He replied, no wonder they say that women don't love men who are not bad. Hearing this, Wang Qiushui rolled her eyes at him unhappily. The captain also saw the syringe in his hand. What is that? Where did you get it from? What do you want to do? He chuckled. You will know what I want to do soon, but don't worry, this needle won't prick you. Otherwise if you become a zombie, you won't be able to see how I escaped with your own eyes. After saying that, he directly cut open the protective clothing of several of them and injected each of them. Under Wang Qiushui's suppression, those people had no way to resist and quickly completed the transformation. He looked at the system and found that there were indeed a few more assistants, but their names were not displayed, and even their information was very simple, just mark with a soldier plus a number. However, these people's physical fitness is indeed better than that of ordinary people, and they can actually transform directly for 7 minutes. However, no matter how good they are just ordinary zombies. Besides, he has no intention of training these people for a long time. Now they are just cannon fodder. On the other side, Wang Qiushui quietly stretched out his arm and used the soul-breaking knife to make a hole in the ceiling. Of course, for safety reasons, he only scratched it slightly and did not go deep. The captain was stunned when he saw his men turned into zombies. Moreover, those zombies seemed to be under the control of Wending and did not maintain their consciousness. He had never heard of such a transformation needle. However, he still shouted loudly, if you have anything, come to me directly, don't mess with my brothers. The others either shouted loudly or trembled in fear, fearing that they would become the next one. He shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I can't agree to your request. Then, he controlled the zombies to come under the ceiling with a hole. Wang Qiushui looked at him and nodded, then kicked one of the zombies. With a bang, the zombie flew up and hit the ceiling, knocking the hole a little loose. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Escape. The captain shouted, stop, stop. When the zombie fell, Wang Qiushui kicked it again, and the zombie flew up again. After kicking it several times in a row, the hole suddenly exploded with a bang, and the zombie was blown to pieces. The captain's tears flowed out, and his voice choked with sobs. No. He had been hiding in the corner early in the morning, so he was not touched by the fragments and black liquid. In fact, he knew that there was a trap buried in that place, so he asked Wang Qiushui to choose to dig a hole there. Moreover, Wang Qiushui did not dig so deep because he wanted to attract the opponent's attention through multiple collisions. Otherwise his next plan would be meaningless. Then, Wang Qiushui kicked another zombie up. This time, because there was no ceiling blocking it, the zombie flew up directly through the hole. The next second, a burst of gunfire came from above, and then the zombie that had just flown up turned into a sieve and fell back. The captain had already closed his eyes and couldn't bear to watch anymore. You devil, you are a devil. Wang Qiushui asked, do you want to continue? He shook his head, no. Sure enough, a head soon popped out of the window and looked down. He shouted directly, kill him. Wang Qiushui quickly stretched out his arm and swung out the hammer of the earth. The man just stuck his head in, and before he could see the environment below clearly, his head exploded directly. Then, the body was dragged away. He said again, retreat quickly. Wang Qiushui retreated with Qiushui and returned to his side. I saw several smoke bombs thrown down, followed by several black gun muzzles sticking out, a round of strafing, and then another grenade was thrown down, and it exploded with a boom. He looked at Wang Qiushui, can you use your aura to suppress those people up there now? Wang Qiushui shook his head, this aura is too difficult to use. I can only deal with opponents on the same level at best. I can't do anything about those who are not on the same level. He sighed, then you have to practice more in the future. You see, those high-level zombies can be controlled freely. Wang Qiushui nodded, then poked his head out to take a look. Those people and zombies are dead. What should we do next? He waved his hand. It doesn't matter if they are dead. As for what's next, you digged holes in these two places. There is a trap in this place, so make it shallower. There is no trap in that place, so you can make it deeper. For the rest, just follow my arrangements. Fortunately, he had made preparations for both situations early on, so he was not completely helpless now. Wang Qiushui did as he said, and dug holes on both sides of the ceiling. After Wang Qiushui was done, he said to the two of them, Qiushui, you will kick the corpse upwards from the shallow area until it is kicked out like just now. And Zilan, once you see Qiushui kicking the corpse out, you will also kick the corpse out. The hole you made is quite deep, so it should be possible to do it in one go. After kicking it out, Qiushui, just stretch out your hand and take Zilan out of the hole you made, and then hide or suppress those people above. Wang Qiushui nodded and asked, what about you? He replied, of course I'll be waiting for you here. I can't be invisible, so won't I be shot to pieces if I go out? Wang Qiushui thought about it, and it made sense. He looked at Zilan, who had been silent, and said, is there any problem? Zilan asked, do we have to use a corpse? He nodded. Only in this way can we make them mistakenly think that we are going to get out, successfully attract their attention, and create a suitable environment for your escape. Zilan breathed a sigh of relief. That's no problem. He walked to the side and hid. Then it's up to you. Wang Qiushui smiled. Leave it to us. Then, Wang Qiushui and the others carried out according to the plan. After a while, under Wang Qiushui's powerful volley, the ceiling was successfully kicked open with a corpse, and of course the corpse was scrapped. However, she quickly connected with another corpse. Sure enough, the corpse just emerged from the hole and was baptized by bullets again. At the same time, Zilan kicked another corpse to the ceiling, successfully broke through the hole and flew out. There was a cry from above. Oh no, it's a feint to the east and attack in the west. Then, those people turned their guns and fired at the corpse that flew out of Zilan's hole. At this time, Wang Qiushui had already taken Zilan out of the original hole. At the moment of landing, her breath suppressed the whole place, and the gunshot stopped immediately. Then, he walked to the bottom of the hole, and Wang Qiushui stretched out his arms to hold him up. However, in the eyes of those people, he was like a god, completely free from gravity, floating up. He appeared from the hole little by little, until he landed completely. Those people were so scared that they couldn't hold their guns steadily. Are you a human, a zombie, or a god? Wang Qiushui almost laughed out loud. Are these people scared silly? The gods have run out. He touched his chin. Maybe I have the potential to be a charlatan. Then, he turned his head and looked at those people. Where is your boss? Those people looked at each other, trembling all over, but no one answered. He shook his head. You disappoint me so much. After that, he directly waved the knife of death in his hand and harvested the lives of these people. In order to prevent him from becoming the same as before, Wang Qiushui also swung up the hammer of the earth. Those people watched their companions being beheaded or having their heads blown off one by one. They were so scared that they almost cried, and some even lost control of their bowels and bladder. However, even at this time, they still couldn't move. When Zilan came to her senses, those people were all dead. She frowned. Just because they didn't answer your questions, you killed them? You want to know the location of their boss? Don't you have a scanner? Why do you have to kill people? I really begin to suspect that you are actually a bloodthirsty person. He glanced at Zilan. Whether they answer or not, they are dead. As for the questions I asked, they just gave them a reason to die, so that they don't feel that they died unclearly after they died. As for why I wanted to kill them, I think they deserve to die, and this reason should be enough. If you can't stand it, then stay here, because I still have to kill people now, the most important one. Chapter 225 Demolition. After that, he went upstairs directly, because the scanner showed that the fat man was still in the original position, which was the room in the morning. Wang Qiushui glanced at Zilan, sighed, and followed him up. As the saying goes, the husband sings and the wife follows. She will definitely follow him. Besides, she knows him very well, and knows that he will never kill innocent people. Therefore, she doesn't think there is anything wrong with killing those people just now. Qiushui hesitated for a while and finally followed him. For some reason, she always felt that only by following him could she know the answers to everything. When he came near the room, the two guards at the door were not there, and the door was ajar, as if it could be opened with just a push. He glanced at Wang Qiushui, and Wang Qiushui understood, and directly swung the hammer of the earth and smashed it on the door. With a bang, the door was smashed and flew out, and everything in the room was in sight. There were corpses lying inside, most of them were the half-dressed maids seen in the morning, and of course there were two guards with guns at the door. However, some of the bodies were missing a large piece of meat, as if someone had dug it out. The hot pot on the table was boiling, and a fat man picked up a piece of meat from the plate next to him with chopsticks, put it in the hot pot for a few seconds, and then stuffed it directly into his mouth. Then, the fat man looked intoxicated, as if he was eating some exquisite food. Seeing this scene, Wang Qiushui on the side couldn't help swallowing his saliva, and at the same time asked curiously, where did he get the meat? Let's get some, and have hot pot. He glanced at Wang Qiushui and shook his head. You don't want to know. The fat man put down his chopsticks and looked at the two people standing at the door. Two distinguished guests. Are you interested in coming in to eat something? We can eat and chat at the same time. Why bother fighting? Since Wang Qiushui had just left Qiushui, he was not in stealth mode now. He sneered. We won't eat this stuff, unlike you. What's more, it's not certain whether this hot pot is poisonous or not. In fact, with your level of caution, this room must be full of traps. This really proves the saying, there is no good banquet. The fat man smiled. I'm eating this hot pot. How could it be poisonous? As for the traps, you came here in the morning, and you went out safely? He shook his head. Do you know why she is holding a hammer? Because we used to help people demolish houses. If you don't plan to come out, we will help you demolish the house. Wang Qiushui cooperated and swung the hammer of the earth. Yes. The fat man's face turned cold. I felt that there was something wrong with you this morning. Tell me, who are you? Why do you have to go against me? Did Brother Xiaopao send you here? Hearing the name Brother Xiaopao, he couldn't help but be surprised. So you know Brother Xiaopao. That's even better. I don't have to look for him everywhere. Qiushui, who had been watching from the sidelines, heard the name Brother Xiaopao, and her heartbeat stopped for a moment. She remembered that she had speculated that the masked man who raised the big fish might have gone with Brother Xiaopao. Now that she finally knew about Brother Xiaopao, she wanted to kill him immediately and avenge her grandfather. He naturally sensed Qiushui's emotional fluctuations and quietly reminded her in his mind, don't come out. It won't be too late to interrogate him slowly later. Qiushui hesitated for a moment and finally did not show up. The fat man was a little surprised when he heard what he said. Since you were not sent by Brother Xiaopao, then whose men are you? He smiled. We are us, not anyone's men. The fat man was stunned for a moment and said angrily, then what hatred do we have that made you risk your life to come in and take revenge on me? If I had known, I should have killed you first in the morning. He shook his head. You are wrong. First of all, there is no hatred between us. Secondly, I'm not so stupid as to risk my life for revenge. In fact, I was really kidnapped by your people. Speaking of which, I have to thank them, otherwise I would not be able to come here so smoothly. The fat man's face turned extremely ugly when he heard it. Those damn idiots. Since there is no hatred between us, there is no need to fight to the death. As long as you leave, I can pretend that nothing happened today. He sneered. Don't you understand the situation? Now it's the two of us against you alone, and besides, you are only level 1, and she is level 3. So, the decision of whether to kill you is in our hands, not yours. Wang Qiushui nodded. The fat man leaned back in his chair, watching the steam rising from the hot pot. Okay, then I'll wait here and see how you kill me. Wang Qiushui heard this and was ready to stretch out his arm to hit the fat man. He pulled Wang Qiushui, shook his head, and pointed to the wall next to him. Tear this down, and then his mechanism will be useless. Since the fat man was so confident, the room must be full of mechanisms, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that it was a den of dragons and tigers. Therefore, he naturally would not let Wang Qiushui go in and take risks. It would be better to be safe. And demolishing the house is obviously a strategy to remove the fire from the bottom of the pot, which can destroy the mechanism in the room. When the house collapses, I believe that the fat man will still come out obediently, and then he will let them do whatever they want. Seeing that he said so, Wang Qiushui stretched out his arm and hit the wall in the distance with a hammer. After one hammer, nothing happened. So Wang Qiushui swung the hammer frantically, hitting the wall again and again. After a while, a hole was smashed out. The fat man was lying on the chair with a relaxed look on his face. When he saw that the wall was really broken, his face couldn't help but twitch. But he still said with a strong face, hit it hard. I want to see how long you can keep hitting it. He smiled. Of course, we will hit you until you come out of this turtle shell, or we will smash this turtle shell and pull you out directly. Wang Qiushui replied, yes. After that, he hit it with another hammer. The power of this hammer was a bit strong. Maybe it hit the explosives or mines buried in the wall, and it exploded with a boom. When the fat man heard the explosion, his face lit up. Now I want to see how you smash it. He quickly looked at Wang Qiushui and asked, are you okay? Wang Qiushui shook his head. It's okay. The explosion was on the wall inside, and the dark skirt blocked it, so my hands are just a little numb. He breathed a sigh of relief. Then I feel relieved. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.